Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this, Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars. So I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker. I said to Ryan, I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. It certainly surprised me to hear Luke say it's time for the Jedi to end. I said, what?
Yeah. Luke
was the most optimistic, hopeful character. And
yes.
I had a real, sort of a back and forth with Ryan. I said, Ryan, a Jedi doesn't give up.
I remember you saying that. Yeah,
a Jedi, if he does something wrong, he makes it right. Even if he's traumatized and goes away, he regroup within, 6 months, but 20, 30 years? And come on, that's a little bit overindulgent in my...
Something that George initially set out to do was a kind of 3-act saga with these 3 trilogies. And I think we felt that we should honor and respect that.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Who is this guy? How did the most optimistic, hopeful character in the galaxy turn into this hermit who says it's time for the Jedi to end? I read that and I said, what? I mean, that's not what a Jedi does. I mean, a Jedi is optimistic. A Jedi has tenacity. He never gives up. He doesn't secrete himself on an island. But you'll...
I think that the thing that George never did was maintain the status quo. And I think that that's really important because...
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you!
What's up, all of you Extrables, droids, and Wookiees? It's Anna, also known as That Star Wars Girl, and tonight I have a special guest with me. So if you guys are not familiar with Nerd Cookies, I actually discovered her channel because me and Drunk 3PO were doing a Star Trek watch party. And this channel popped up and started commenting and talking about Star Trek stuff, which I'm like, oh, hello, cool person. And Drunk's like, yeah, it's this cool channel, Nerd Cookies. She, oh, what the fuck, YouTube unsubscribed me. See what happens? I was subscribed. I clicked on this because it was over here. Fuck you, YouTube. That being said, awesome channel that talks about a lot of Dune content. And sorry, Nerd Cookies, but YouTube was being mean to me right there. But everyone, please give a warm welcome to Nerd Cookies and welcome to my channel.
Hello. It's good to be here. That's amazing. YouTube did that.
I know. I literally had it queued up and then, refreshing and then pulling this up. It's like, what the hell?
YouTube doesn't like me, I guess.
Well, I would think the opposite because, your channel has exploded even since I first found it. So the fact that YouTube did that, because I'm not even kidding, before when we were talking off air and, I had it pulled up so that way I could do this whole intro and I was subbed. So within the past, 20 minutes, it unsubbed me.
That's weird.
It's very weird. Screw you, YouTube. But hello.
This is awesome to be here. Yeah, and that video montage, my goodness, my heartstrings were pulled.
Yeah, I like to play them just to remind everyone. Because when people say, Anna, why are you still upset? That was years ago. I'm like, no. I'm gonna take this to my grave. That's how just it kills you. This was my hero. And look at how even Luke, he tried to warn us.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm actually was writing a video kind of on that. I just did one not too long ago about the Sebastian Stan. The fans were kind of campaigning for him and I think it's a pretty good idea so far. But yeah, I was just reflecting back on that and and how Mark Hamill felt about it. Like, even though we did get Mark Hamill in the flesh as Luke, it wasn't Luke. And the actor acknowledged it. And so even if someone else has to step into the shoes, as long as it's like faithful and epic and worthy of Luke's legacy, I think I just want that. I want what we should have gotten.
I agree with you 100%.
It's just bittersweet because, it's Mark Hamill is what brought him to life in the first place. But he'll always be my Luke.
I know. And it kills me because I'm like, you had one shot. Like, we're all human. They're not going to be around forever. Obviously, Carrie is no longer here. You had a chance to work with all of them while they were still alive, the right age to be doing this. And I mean, I was actually listening to Critical Drinker stream earlier, and they were talking about how in the motion picture, they brought back the original cast of Star Trek, but they let them be middle-aged, and they let it, like, that was part of the story, is that this is where they're at in their life now, because everyone's not young forever. You do age, you do get to middle age, you do get older. And it was handled so much better in Star Trek than what they had to do with Star Wars.
For sure. Definitely. I know it's bittersweet. That would have been my first order of business. How do we get these three united? What scene is that?
I know. And get them to that point in their life.
Yeah.
Let me read the super chat. Bork, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Nerd Cookies. I just subbed to your channel, and I love your videos. Anna, don't forget the friend code on your birthday card I sent you. Yes, thank you. I'm trying. I got to look for it. But thank you for the super chat.
Thank you.
Oh, and we got another one, Lethal. And guys, yes, I know I'm going to try to keep up with the super chats as they come in. Sometimes if we are in the flow of the conversation, then I might wait for them for a little bit later. But right now, since we're just getting started, I will be able to read them. So thank you, Lethal Lightning, for the super chat. Anna, say hi to Nerd Cookies for me. Hello, Nerd Cookies.
Hi, Lethal. It's good to see you.
Tamaria's East.
He's my simp.
Oh, he is? Lethal's a simp for a lot of girls. He's a simp for Brie as well.
Oh, for sure.
And the Raylos. Lethal is an interesting one. But hey, Lethal, what's up? How you doing? I'm surprised you're awake. Actually, what time is it there? Is it morning? Probably. Tamaria's East, thank you for this. Anna, I think you should be on Mary Mayhem's Marioki streams. You are so good at Reen, so that would make you Rihanna. Oh, thanks, but that was kind of insulting. I know that you didn't mean it, but that killed me. I cannot sing. It is something I came to terms with a long, long time ago. I sound like Scuttle in The Little Mermaid when he's trying to sing, and they have to knock him out because Prince Eric is like, can somebody please put that bird out of its misery? That's me when I sing. So I would not do that to anyone.
That's hilarious.
Can you sing?
I'm okay. I can carry a tune. Sure.
See, I can't.
I mean, I'm one of those that just is so shy, though. I can't. So don't ask me to sing.
I feel like if I'm drunk enough, I can sing because I have done karaoke, but
that's another story then, yeah.
I always pick a song that everyone else will sing, so nobody listens to me. So if you pick like Don't Stop Believin' in a karaoke bar, every single person is going to be singing that. So like you kind of get drowned out. So that's my tactic when I absolutely have to do, karaoke.
That's smart. Yeah.
It's a strategy I learned over time. But thank you guys for the super chats. We are going to talk a little bit about Mando, the most controversial thing out there right now, apparently. So I have to ask you before we get into it. How do you feel about Grogu's name?
I don't know. It definitely takes some getting used to. I think when I first, I actually did read the spoilers before, so I knew what the name was. I wasn't entirely sure how you pronounced it, so it was gonna be like Grogu or Grogu. So I had a little bit more time to get used to it. I think it'll grow on me. I just think it's so odd. I'm so used to calling him Baby Yoda. But the same thing with Din Djarin. I still call him Mando, even though I know his name. So
I know, I couldn't care less about his name. He's Mando.
yeah.
Look at that little face, Joe.
Oh,
So,
especially apparently this last episode, like, families were watching it and their little kids were just in tears or just having having a fit over the state of where we left him. I sympathize for sure.
I liked the ending. Like, I did not like this new episode. It felt more like a fan film to me personally. Like, just all they would have to do to make me, a little bit more buy into it, because I mean, I'm from California, so I'm like, that looked like it was in California.
yeah.
Like, I drive past that on the freeway, that scenery. So I'm like, I know what you guys are doing. If they would have just put like a filter on it for like the cinematography, I'm like, just make it look like you're on an alien planet.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. Drunk found that video of Drunk 3PO found the TikTok video. The hiker just stumbled upon it, so if it's that easy to get to.
Well, that's one of the problems, I think, with their budget, is that they have to, do everything super economical. Like, if you go and watch, the original Star Trek, and you can see it's like, oh, look, there's the planet with the spores. Oh, hey, that's the exact same set as Little House on the Prairie. So it's like, I get it, especially for TV shows, but I'm like, you have $100 million and you could like just put a filter over it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the budget, like this one, and it was 28 minutes too. Like maybe they're saving, maybe they had to put the money towards the last 2 episodes, but the fact that they were on Tython too, it didn't feel like Tython. They had this small structure. But it was, and that's one of my grievances too with that episode. Being on Tython, the birthplace, Jedi Order, I just didn't feel like that's what it was. Like there should have been more atmosphere for sure, and more ruins.
Here, let me give everyone an idea on what Tython looks like. So Tython is like the mythical place or the mythical planet where like the Jedi spawned from. I did a whole hour where I was just basically screaming about this because I'm assuming, since you know about Tython, you know a little bit of the EU. Did you play SWTOR? Did you read the book?
Oh yes, I love SWTOR. So when I heard Tython, I was like squealing. So yeah, I was disappointed, and I'm still holding out that we might return there down the line. If whoever Force user goes to that location, and maybe then we'll find the atmosphere. Yeah, and if you look at the concept art too, the concept art at the end of the episode looked much better, looked much more like Tython. So I wish they would have just, there was clouds, the way they depicted it, but they couldn't film it that way. I don't know what was going on there, but definitely the art looked much more like this. It looked like it was rich in the Force. And I wish they could have portrayed that in some way. And yeah, that's one of my grievances, but
let's see. Oh yeah, here we go from that to this.
Yeah, like Stonehenge. And
I was pulling up freaking maps of the Star Wars galaxy, and I'm like, that was a whole plot point in the Darth Bane trilogy, was that Darth Zana had to go break into the Jedi Temple and go get the what is it called, the hyperspace route to get there, because it's a legendary planet that is in the deep core, and then they have it in the outer rim, and I'm like, oh my soul.
Yeah.
It hurts.
And that's weird too, because someone, like, there's been some users that have noticed that the map that the Mando was using actually put it into or had his ship in the deep core, like they have the holographic map there. But why? I don't know why the dialogue would say different. But someone pointed that out. Others that pay more attention. Plus,
that actually got pointed out on my. I was playing KOTOR 2 last night, and people had seen my hour long where I was just ranting about it. And then somebody was like, no, Anna, I went and I looked at the map and I read it, and they're in the deep core. But the chick clearly says, oh, why?
I know, that's odd.
Outer rim. But
yeah,
Favreau's the one that wrote it. So I'm like, all right, maybe he just didn't know. But still, it would be, I was expecting that to be the final episode of the series, was that I was like, okay, next episode, he's going to have to find out, like, go do some digging to try to find out where Tython is. And there'll be another episode where he's like, okay, they're only the plans are only because in Disney canon, Darth Vader had some admiral had to show him where Tython was, so the Empire did have it. And I hate to say this, but yeah, Disney canon. So it's like, okay, that'll be a plot point. He's got to go to the Empire and go get the plans from the Empire. And then the next episode will be them getting there, or some other side mission. Then the final episode will be them getting on Tython. And then he's like, nope, guess what? I'm just there. I just magically know where it is.
Yeah, that's funny because I wasn't expecting them to arrive there either, because they had their tracking beacon on since before Ahsoka's episode. So I just assumed they would get caught on the way, and that would be saved towards the end. I have a feeling, and it's just like a theory. I have lots of theories ringing in my head, but if another Force user, if Jedi, and if it could be Luke, I think they might be saving that, because I still think that Grogu might still be lost. I don't know. I'm not sure if he will be rescued. I think that might be a thing to launch season 3, kind of that cliffhanger. But if Luke Skywalker arrives on Tython and to the location that he sensed Grogu's reaching out, and he sees the stormtroopers and the wrecked ship, and then he'll know like someone's reaching out and the Empire has him, and maybe that's how they might introduce him. And that would be kind of interesting. That would be kind of like the Moff Gideon with the Darksaber at the end of this last season. Kind of like, I don't know, cliffhanger for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Many theories.
That's a good idea. It's hard for me to like really picture, even though I know that they're going to do it. Maybe it's just my mind just won't let me accept that Luke is going to be in this, because I'm like, please, dear God, no. But I think you might be onto something there, because I feel like anytime I come up with ideas, I'm thinking the way that I would think, or like, pre-Disney Star Wars. But I have a hard time thinking, what would Disney Star Wars do? Because whatever I'm thinking is obviously not going to happen. So how do I get in that mindset, which I think you do a really good job of? And then there's a few other people that do theory videos on this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that would never happen. And then, of course, it does.
That's funny, too, because, and I never wanted Boba Fett to even enter this show. I think that was like a thing from the very beginning when this show was announced. A lot of people thought, could it be Boba Fett? And he's the Mandalorian. But I never wanted him to be featured. I was so scared, and rightly so, after the treatment of these other beloved characters. So I was fine with them having original characters, original stories, whatever. Just don't tarnish any other beloved characters. So I was very, very hesitant. And when we saw him in that little clip in the season 1, or no, episode 1 of the season, I was like, oh no. But I was pleased with how they portrayed him. And Tamora Morris, and that's probably like the biggest saving grace for me in this episode specifically, because they honored a part of the lore that I actually like, was their Mandalorian background, both Jango Fett and Boba. And so that's kind of like what I already thought the canon was, because I just liked that Jango was a foundling, and I also like playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the prequels, but I really like Jango Fett. And the Star Wars Bounty Hunter game really like fleshed out his backstory. And I loved playing that. The storyline was really good. And it talks about Jasper Mariel and why he even wanted to have a child of his own. And again, those themes are important. I feel with Star Wars, George Lucas has always said it's about family. It's about relationships and fathers and sons and children redeeming their parents. And so I felt that theme in this episode and the last one. And it really, that's been the saving grace for me, is that theme feels like it's from, or what I fell in love with George Lucas's vision of what Star Wars is, and having those themes present and little things. I hope that they work out as far as appreciating Tython and, other story things that I have issues with, but, at least the core of what I think George Lucas was trying to do with Star Wars was there for these 2 episodes for me, and with the child and Din Djarin's relationship, more of that father-son dynamic. So yeah, that's why I like it, what it's doing.
See,
hopefully it'll continue.
I think it will. That's one of the reasons why it's like, as much as I don't like the show, I don't hate it because it's not like what Disney was doing. Disney was like, we're going to break down everything you loved so that way you can like this new stuff because the old stuff you like now sucks. Then they're actually trying, and it's very obvious. I liked that they brought back the actor that played Django to be Boba now. I'm like, I feel like that's just a very kind gesture because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to bring Boba back. They could have just left that and let it be. But I felt like they did it because like let's include him in this. You know, Han, Luke, and Leia got to come back. Let's go redeem some characters or give or actors another chance. And so I thought that was very endearing. I felt like they just didn't do him justice though with the fat Boba Fett, the dad bod Boba Fett. I'm just like, I know he had it over his robes, but I'm just like, couldn't you like let him have a quick costume? Like that's something like, you know, I'm totally fine with the dude going and changing behind a rock into his armor if he's going to live, just so that way that doesn't happen. Because what if that actor worked his ass off getting in shape and now everyone's like, ooh, dad bod Boba Fett. And he's like, well, fuck.
That's hilarious. And it's funny too, because didn't like Mark Hamill like worked his butt off and for that one scene he had in Force Awakens?
Oh my god!
He was like, "What did I just do all this work for?"
Here, I actually have that. Let's hear.
But I don't think they prepared me correctly. You know, in other words, you know, I went to training and, you know, I lost all this weight and did all these things. And I thought, I must be doing something physical if they're sending me to the gym twice a week and torturing me physically. But saying, oh, by the way, you know, all that workout where you lost all the weight, you're going to have to turn and remove your hood. I thought, oh, I got to lie down for a minute.
I had that too.
Oh, man. I know. I think it's interesting, though, too. Some shots, he actually didn't look that bad. Maybe it was the belt just wasn't.
I think it was that particular stance, that angle. It was like, oh my god, fat bod Boba Fett or dad bod Boba Fett. Ugh.
No, because I was I saved the images on my Mando live streams that I do on Sundays, and not all of them looked. Some of them looked really good. I don't know, just how it was shot or what the angle. Or maybe where the belt was positioned
that we're not going to look good. Yeah, it's just it's over the suit. It's that was just a very bad angle, and unfortunately, it was the most iconic shot in the damn episode. So maybe next time
it should be a. I mean, dads everywhere probably rejoiced.
Oh yeah, me and Drunk were talking about it the other day. He's just like, they got fat Thor, now they got, you know, dad bod Boba Fett. It's like it's becoming a trend, and I'm like, huh, interesting, Disney.
No, I do think that today's like standards for fitness, like we're so used to like Chris Hemsworth and like Henry Cavill for his The Witcher physique, but that's just not sustainable. That takes a village. And a lot of time to even get to that point and then to maintain it. So maybe they just didn't have the time. But I mean, honestly, I was just so glad he was there. But but I think fitness too, like that's not like, I don't think that's normal to have Chris Hemsworth. Have you seen him working out for Thor?
Oh God. Yeah. I saw his little fake video where it looks like he's just doing pull-ups, but
yeah. Oh, and Natalie Portman, who weighs like 90 pounds soaking wet, she's talking about her working out. I do not think she's gonna get that.
The actress that plays Bo-Katan, she actually has a YouTube channel, and I just watched. She has like I think it's like 40 minutes, but talking about like with her personal trainer about every body type that she's ever like done for her iconic characters, and just with the trainer that does it, and then like how if you're doing a certain type of look, how you have to work out differently and you have to eat differently. It's a really good video, but it's a lot of freaking work, and I'm like, she's not even really getting yoked. Like one, she was just getting kind of toned. And so she's like, if you look at this, she's like, I weigh like there's only a 4-pound difference between this picture and this picture, but it's the different things that you eat and the different type of exercises you do. And it's like, Jesus.
That's true. And I will say this for Natalie Portman, that women just build muscle differently. We get leaner, and it's not, and we don't have testosterone too in the levels that men do, so we can't like build muscles like that. But yeah, Katie Sackhoff's amazing, and she did great. I loved her in Longmire as well, and she, yeah, of course, very fit for that, you know, law enforcement, and it worked so well for her and as Bo-Katan. And again, that was another thing that was so great to see her. I was such a fan of Starbuck and her character in Longmire as well. She's such a great actress, and I was so happy for her that she could step into the shoes of the character she's voiced.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked so good. The eyebrows actually did throw me off a little bit. Like, really? Your eyebrows? You're keeping that with the same animation?
Well, that's one of the things about in her video that I was just describing. She was, or actually it wasn't in that one. She did an interview and she was talking about how she was personally very attached to the character and like Bo-Katan's eyebrows and like Bo-Katan's scar. And so she's like, we had to figure out how to make it look as not goofy, but as close to the Clone Wars and Rebels as possible. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And like, she really put a lot of thought into it, which I very much admire.
Yeah, I think that was on E.T. maybe.
Yes,
I saw that interview, and that was really good. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, well that's pretty good. And when I watched it again, I'm like, yeah, okay, it doesn't look as bad as when I first saw it. It looked just like the animated character, so that's impressive for sure.
Yeah, it didn't look goofy either.
No, yeah, it's just a little details like that you wouldn't think that would come across or that they would pay attention to, but she was very meticulous in that way, and that's really cool. She's such a huge fan herself of Star Wars and of her character. It's the stars just aligned so well for her to do that, and she was awesome.
That was actually my favorite episode so far. I really like seeing her. I liked the whole almost everything about that episode I loved, and I wish that we would see her a little bit more. And I'm hoping she becomes a bigger part of it, but we will see. With my luck, probably not. But that's one of the differences between like her being, you know, so attached to this character, and then Rosario Dawson, you know, this is her first time playing Ahsoka and being in Star Wars. I kind of have a feeling that if Ashley Eckstein would have been Ahsoka, that the Laku would have actually been the correct size.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And well, I don't know how. I don't know. I think the only reason that they did that was from a practical standpoint, because she has dual lightsabers and she has such a distinct fighting style. I think that was like an issue, like just the way her movements. And they'd be flailing because they wouldn't look like how they do in the animated version, because they're literally a part of her. They're an appendage that's, you know, an actual body part, and it's not like the headdress that you'd have, because obviously she doesn't have those. It's not, so they would just be flailing around and not presented like it is in the animation. So and Shakti, I don't think did much with it. I think she sat on the council. Did she do anything in
She fought at oh my god,
I mean, like to the level of like Ahsoka. I mean, I don't know.
No, but I mean, even when that's one of the things where I think it's okay to have, you know, maybe a not just a stunt double, but also the way that they did a lot of the special effects with, you know, just put maybe green on them, or I mean,
yeah, I wonder if CG would have worked.
I think that's for all they would have really need to do is to maybe have green like strings hanging down from like maybe a point at her shoulders, and then have some kind of weight to them, so that way they would sway the way that they would, and then go in and put them in, you know, in the effects after, which I think totally could have been done based on the way that they did film that fight. I get it. First time we see her fighting, it's in the dark. She's wearing a cloak. It's lights going on and off. So it might be different if they are going to do like a big daylight fight scene. But I mean, they can do it. They have the technology to do it. And so that's one of those things that I'm like, it takes me out of the viewing experience because I'm thinking of how they can fix it. And because I'm thinking of how they can fix it or that it's bothering me, I'm not engaged in the show anymore.
Oh yeah, I understand it because that's how you're so used to seeing her as, and it's a little jarring. Um, yeah, it was one thing that did impress me though, was the makeup.
Oh, yeah.
That it did look like her skin and not actual like makeup. And I think the Shakti's makeup was a little bit caked on to where it looked like it was makeup. But I thought they did a good job at least to the facial markings. And I was surprised that the blue eyes looked really good. So that aspect impressed me. Yeah, as far as the Montrals and the Leku, that was, yeah, I wish they would have been more. If they could have done it, I would have preferred it. But I mean, I think they did the makeup was really good for me. I thought, it looked like her skin basically, which it should have looked.
Mm-hmm. And one of the problems usually when you have like caked on makeup like that, it's like if you smile or like do anything, after a while you can see the lines in the makeup, and so it'll make like, especially if it's Rosario Dawson I think is 40, so it's like after like an hour or two, she's gonna look a lot older than that. So I think
she looks good.
She looks great. I think they must have dyed it or something. But I had seen, people making the argument about how look at what they were able to do in one episode with Ahsoka and like the care that they put into that as compared to the way that they do Starfire.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, it looked natural on her, so I don't know why they didn't want to go that route.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I had seen people kind of talking about the difference in care, because even though the Leku weren't the correct length for her age, still like just that they were able to keep her orange, and they gave her the blue eyes, and they were able to do the way that Ahsoka actually fights in the Clone Wars, because like you were saying, yeah, she does have a very distinctive fighting style. Personally, I was always on the, when I was a kid and I watched the documentary and George Lucas is explaining the lightsabers and how he wanted a two-handed type of, sword or like weapon like that because he grew up watching, samurai movies. And so when they introduced, oh, you can have double-bladed or you can have one in each hand, I was like, what is this?
That was one thing too. I wished. I mean, what a missed opportunity for Rey. I thought for sure she would have a dual-bladed lightsaber. That just seemed like a no-brainer. But I did like that. One of the things that really impressed me though too is even Ahsoka is this amazing, relatable character. She's a strong female character, and it was never. It just is what it is. It was never made to be this huge thing that Rey was. Like she was relatable, and she never appeared to be OP to me. She used the environment to her advantage. For one, she had to deactivate her lightsabers to avoid detection as she moved, and her distinctive fighting style was definitely clear. Rey didn't have any fighting style. She just flailed around with her lightsaber, and she always ran with it activated.
I know.
Like, what? She was just she just loved to do that.
It's
so
amazing
that impressed me too.
Impale herself or something. Oh my god.
Well, in that trailer too, that famous trailer, she activates her lightsaber first, runs for like a good distance. Like, what are you doing?
I know.
You could poke somebody's eye out.
It's so painful, and it's funny because they were trying to appeal to girls like me and you, and then our friends and stuff, because they're like, we want more women in Star Wars. But in reality, it's like, well, we've liked Star Wars. I don't know how long you've liked Star Wars, but I've liked Star Wars since I was 2 years old, the first time I watched it. What was your experience, watching Star Wars for the first time?
Oh yeah, I probably was older than that. That's amazing. But yeah, my father was a big sci-fi fan, so we had all the VHS. So I experienced it before the special editions and everything. Pretty young. I don't remember the exact age, but yeah, around like 5 or 6 or something. And I love Luke Skywalker. And it wasn't about like that your hero needed to look like you. It was about what they stood for. It was about what they did. And I loved his ideals. I loved that how he looked for the good in people and stood up for his friends. I mean, that was just basic things. And I loved that about him. And that's what connected me to his character and why I wanted to read further his adventures. And I love Leia too. And I liked her path as well. I mean, I loved their relationship between the three. And it wasn't just about the one person either. And in the end, Luke was just redeemed his father. He didn't have to kill anybody. He refused to, you know, raise the lightsaber at his father. He saw the good in him, and that resonated with me for sure. And I think it resonates with a lot of people. And Rey is just so far removed from that. Like, how are we supposed to relate? And she always acts from her emotions. And she feels a lot like a dark side character. She doesn't really care about anybody because they didn't develop those relationships. And when she raised her lightsaber at Luke, who like she just, you know, like pushed down the stairs basically and grabbed her lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are people supposed to look up to that? Like, that's, I mean, you're a woman, yes, but you know, it's not who you are. It's what you do. That's important.
Yep, completely. And I think like just looking at the difference between Rey and Ahsoka, it's like I remember the Clone Wars movie and I hated Ahsoka. I thought she was so annoying, so whiny, so obnoxious. And then once I started watching the Clone Wars, I was like, "God, this stupid character, make her go away." But then, you know, that was kind of the thing. She's young. She's a young kid. She got lucky enough to be stuck with Anakin Skywalker, and she's actually really smart. And so it shows her maturing and growing up because she's just this wide-eyed kid that got their first assignment working with, you know, a Jedi Knight during, you know, a war. And so it makes her grow. And so she has several different character moments where she develops and then goes on this complete journey and arc. And yeah, that took a whole series to get to. But even if the Clone Wars were a trilogy, we would have still gotten that as compared to with Rey. Because it's like, I don't know what the hell. Why does Rey want to be a Jedi? Why does Rey want to go find Luke? Why does Rey want to help with I guess, apparently now the Second Rebellion? I don't know. I don't know why she does anything that she does. She just does it. And it's like, how do you want me to care about this person?
That's so true. And they just didn't develop her. And I love strong female characters for sure. We've had them. We've had them in entertainment. Trinity and Ripley and Lady Jessica from Dune is one of my favorite literary characters. And she's very strong. I mean, that blows the Jedi kind of. Well, it's a different thing, but definitely as inspired. One of the elements that inspired George Lucas for the Jedi Order is Bene Gesserit. So she's very strong, but the way she uses her power is what's so interesting about her. And she makes decisions that don't always pan out, that she has to suffer the consequences for. Rey never suffers anything. She doesn't suffer any loss or any repercussions from her bad choices. And that makes you not relatable. And people can't connect with that. They want to follow your journey. They want to see you grow. Because people are whiny. People do have problems.
Yeah. And
that's how the hero's journey starts.
Yeah. I mean, we're very flawed. I remember my cousin's husband was saying, yeah, me and my buddies play the drinking game. Every time that Luke complains or whines in A New Hope, we take a shot. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are probably hammered. Because, I mean, he's not perfect. And I think, that's one of the reasons why so many people like him is that he has to work so freaking hard to get to the point that he is in Return of the Jedi. And I mean, he loses a lot. He's not always winning. He gets lucky sometimes, but that's because he's got the Force on his side. And, the fate plays into that. But it's just like, come on, people.
I know. They just went so overboard. They wanted her, and they didn't really flesh out the other characters too. I liked Finn. The way they did the trailer was very interesting to me. A stormtrooper kind of turning away from that. That was very intriguing, and they kind of made it sound like he was going to be the Jedi with that when he took the lightsaber.
Well,
but they kind of just push him to the side. It's like they don't develop these characters enough for me to care about. Exactly. It's a shame, really.
It really is. And I thought Finn, I know that I had seen Rey, but so out of the toys, they only had, like, she was in the PVC set, at least speaking based on just like the Disney toys that they sold at like Disneyland or at the stores. The only toy that they really had for Rey was the die cast action figure, which is like 30 something bucks. And so, and then in a PVC set, but Finn was everywhere. You had his stormtrooper costume, you had his jacket, you had his action figure, you had his blaster. Like everything seemed like it's like, okay, yeah, there's a girl in Star Wars, but it seems like we're going to get a, you know, a black man to be the lead of Star Wars, which to me, I'm like, oh yeah, we already had Lando. I'm fine with this. Like what it is, whatever. I don't like Adam Driver. So I'm like, who the hell is this kid going to be? But it was just such a letdown because that would have been such an interesting story. And they dropped the ball there.
I know they focused too much on just one character, and Star Wars was never about just the one person. But like every title that has come out, the sequel trilogy is solely based upon Rey. Even the Rise of Skywalker, we come to find out, was even about her as well. It's just, Luke was never the central figure. I mean, the important theme, yes, about fathers and sons, but he very much relied on Han and Leia. And at the very end of the first movie, we see their bonds and their friendships. That is set, and it is very strong. But we don't see any of that. And like at the beginning of the third movie of the sequel trilogy, we're supposed to believe that they're friends. You don't believe it. Yeah, because they didn't build it to that. And it's just bad storytelling for sure. And that's what it comes down to. What my main problem is, that it's bad storytelling and not fleshing out these characters and the core themes of what Star Wars is. So I'm seeing like little bits of that in The Mandalorian, just with Cara Dune and Greef Karga. You know, his continued relationships with them. When Cara Dune first came on the scene, I thought she might have been just another, I don't know, just a token female character trying to push the agenda. But it just wasn't a strong episode though, too, because it was just a rehash of Samurai 7, Magnificent 7, A Bug's Life, and all that. But then later when we see her again, it really fleshed out her character. And I've come to really enjoy her and her relationship with the other two. And so that's what it's supposed to be about. And you're supposed to have those relationships established at least. And they just failed to do that in the sequel trilogy. So I'm seeing those little elements that I've always enjoyed from the original trilogy and other Star Wars stories in this. And that's why, I mean, first season was a bit rough for me. There's elements that I liked and some that I really didn't. I know the Force healing just seemed completely forced. And it did come out right before The Rise of Skywalker, that episode, and I just felt like they did it to normalize it.
Yeah.
But in the second season, like the child's force powers were dialed way back, and it's almost like they were listening to my to my criticisms. But you know, they obviously they weren't. But it's just completely different change. He's hardly ever used it. His force abilities, he did it to grab some cookies, and at the end of this episode when he was scared. But yeah. But I don't know. I'm glad they did that because I didn't want it to be. He was starting to get too overpowered, I think, and that was one of my gripes. But
well, what did you think about like Cara Dune's backstory? When I heard, oh, she was from Alderaan, and then they I don't know if you caught it. I'm not musically inclined at all, so when I notice something that has to do with music, I'm like, oh my gosh. Might be a little bit on the nose, but I really liked it, was that they used kind of, it's not the same, but it's very similar to Princess Leia's theme song for her at the end of that episode. I really liked it. I was like, oh my gosh, I just like this character 10 times more. I already like Gina Carano because she's awesome online in real life. And so I was kind of hesitant about the character, but once finding that out, and knowing, okay, so this is why she's not settling down. This is why she doesn't do certain things. It's because she still is carrying that pain, and like she doesn't want to settle. She doesn't want to call any place home because she knows what it's like to lose it and to lose everything.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that story. And that's why I liked her more as we got to know her. Being from Alderaan and having, just fleshing out her story. It was so interesting. And that's what you're supposed to do to tell a good story. And the fact that the fact that Alderaan, this entire planet was destroyed, but I don't think a lot of people may have felt it felt the weight of that impact and that loss. If you just watch the movies, or it's it can be hard to feel the impact of that. And I feel like sometimes even the sequel trilogy, the loss of life was just brushed over.
Oh, I know.
So, but way more. With Leia, it made more sense because the situation required it, and we see her dealing with it in the Legends. But it was nice to see, the fallout kind of those that had survived and what they're dealing with, because we see a planet get destroyed like every other every other film, but these are like human lives that are lost, and lives that just billions of lives that are destroyed, and impact on the galaxy. So I was so happy that they decided to explore, especially now in this timeline when it's like really fresh still. So it only happened 5 or how many years ago? 6, 7 years ago when A New Hope happened. Battle of Yavin around that time. But still, that's not that long ago for the time period that this set in. And I'm glad that they kind of decided to have that and explore it. And she's great. She's done a really good job. I look forward to seeing her in the next 2 episodes. She's done a great job.
Yeah, we're almost done. Only got 2 left. Isn't that crazy?
I'm glad to be excited, though, again. There's not a whole lot, I guess, right now to be excited about, I guess. Dune has been delayed, and all our shows are delayed.
Everything's on hold. Nothing new is coming out. Movie theaters are closed. The world is dying. Everything's insane. And we only have 2 episodes left. And then what are we going to do?
Dune was supposed to be out this month. I got to wait almost a year.
Oh, my gosh. Well, not if they release it on the streaming program, right?
No, still, it's going to be released in a year. It's at the same time as the theatrical release.
Okay.
For just that 1 month that it comes out.
I don't think that's the smartest idea.
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I just want to see it.
Yeah.
I obviously would want to. My preference is to see it on the big screen, because that's how Arrakis should be seen and how the Sandworms should be seen. I just hope things might change. I mean, things have changed so quickly and on a dime already. I guess we'll just see how it progresses. Legendary has actually just filed, or I think they're filing some charges or some challenges against Warner Media's decision. Like they didn't have any say in this decision to stream it on HBO Max. So, and that's a huge budget film. They put up 75% of the production budget for it. So they definitely have a larger stake financially. I think it's that film and Godzilla versus Kong that's really at the I don't know, a biggest concern for them, because those are probably the biggest budget films that they have going on.
If I found out I just spent what the cost of Dune is, like what, $165 million.
Yeah, probably, like, and with marketing and other stuff, and they had to do reshoots too. It's probably getting up to 200 and probably surpassing that. I don't know.
We'll just say like $250 million. I would be absolutely livid if they said, "Oh, well, we're going to do it on streaming," because I don't know about you. I frequent the Magical Bay of Pirates. And so the second something is released digitally, it appears there. It's like a treasure trove. And so knowing that, I would be livid, because it's like the second it's out there, there's people that, because usually if it's not in the Magical Bay of Pirates, I will go to the movie theater and see it. If it's on the Magical Bay of Pirates, being an antisocial person that was self-quarantined before it was mandatory, I'm not getting out of my house. So
I know I wouldn't set my, I mean, I just want to see it. I mean, I hoped it would come out this month actually on streaming anyways, just so we could see it. But certain areas just aren't in the position. As a lot of areas are going into lockdown too right now. And Villeneuve, the director, was very rushed because they had to delay their pickup shots that they had planned. So that was, I think they did it in August, and it was going to be a very much a rush to get things done and editing. And he already said that he's been struggling so much working remotely with his editor and composer, not being in the same room with them. He said it was completely different. So I was glad that he at least got more time to, and hopefully if things get better with the global crisis, that he'd be able to finish how he wanted it to, because I mean, Dune fans have been asking for a definitive, faithful adaptation for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the book came out in 1965, so it's been a while. And the David Lynch version, I'm not a big fan of. I appreciate it for what it did, and there's some parts I really like and performances, but it's not the full story of Dune. And the book is just infinitely better. If you're gonna experience the story of Dune, I recommend the book. Or the miniseries, that was really good too, but it still had changed some things. And they had such a small TV budget too. Yeah, so they were hampered in other ways too. But now we have this filming on location, and everything just seems to be going so well. The trailer looked really good, and a lot of the casting I'm happy with. Oscar Isaac, I'm so happy for him to have a role in this.
Oh, really? See, I'm not an Oscar Isaac fan, so I was like, when I saw that.
Oh, really? I thought he was like at least one of the best parts of the sequels, because he had kind of some interesting dialogue. I don't know, but John Boyega was so jealous of him being in Dune.
Well,
Yeah.
John Boyega actually comes off as like quite a bit of a nerd. And I think it's funny because Poe only lived because Oscar Isaac told JJ, he's like, hey, I've been like dying and everything I'm in. Can you just like not kill me? And so I'm like, okay, so you're going to be Duke Leto. Like, not the best one for maybe, trade.
No.
But I was like, that's interesting. When I first saw that, I was like, huh, you're tired of being the guy that always dies, right?
Yeah, but who could say no to Dune? I don't know.
That is true. As an actor, like that's an incredible opportunity.
He's gonna be the next Sean Bean.
He really is. Which is, I think, what he was trying to stay away from. But
that's one of my favorite characters, actually, Duke Leto. So,
oh, me too.
Yeah.
I remember I've always kind of liked like father characters, and so it's so tragic because everyone kind of knows what's going to happen to him, and then he doesn't know, but even Paul, he knows, and so he's watching. He's like, oh, that's where my father made the mistake. So it's like, oh, it's just this perfect tragedy unraveling, and it's like, could you just mourn him? Could you just throw your dad a bone? I get it, you can't because of fate and destiny, but like just reading it, it's like, come on, he's such a good guy, and
I know it's very tragic, and I guess that's why the story is so good, based on those kind of, and I think their house in general is based on like Greek tragedy kind of stories, and yeah, I can definitely get those themes from it. And Frank Herbert was such a great writer. He's right up there with Tolkien for me as far as world building goes, and we can see a lot of the inspiration in Star Wars from it. This galactic empire, and the Order of the Bene Gesserit, and the Arrakis, and these things, and but he does such a good job at keeping mystery while fleshing out this universe, because I like that he just you're right into it, right in the thick of it, of this universe, and you're hearing all these weird terms and things that you don't really know about, like the Spacing Guild, Bene Gesserit, and spice, like you don't know anything, and you're hearing these strange terms. But as the story goes and you're reading it, you just gradually come to understand, like you're Paul Atreides, learning as you go. And it's just beautifully, and I love the lingering mysteries. And you have to read it again too, multiple times. You always learn something as you.
Oh yeah.
And that's what Frank Herbert actually designed his book to be, as to be reread that way. And you always find something interesting. because I always connected with Paul Atreides' story, but I find myself more and more connecting with Gurney Halleck and Lady Jessica's story now. Maybe because I'm older and I relate more to those characters. So,
Yeah, things change as you
yeah.
grow up. But it's interesting because when you get into older sci-fi, I can't even stomach new sci-fi anymore. So I personally prefer older sci-fi. But whenever you're reading a book, because it's this new universe, and back then there was no guarantee that your book was going to get made into a movie, TV show, or you would ever see it. So it's like, you're kind of a fish out of water, and this person is having to describe to you this world, these people, these things that you've never seen or never imagined before. And so, yeah, the first time you read it, it's really through Paul's eyes. I really like Lady Jessica, and the first time I feel like we all kind of just like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then, I had seen, my parents were watching the David Lynch film, and I was like, what the heck is this? Because I walked in. I was like, is that Sting? Like, what is Sting wearing? What is wrong with their eyes? My parents
his metal bikini.
yeah.
Or Speedo.
Yeah. Well, my parents were like, oh, like my mom giving the absolute worst description. She said they're all on drugs. That's why their eyes are blue. I was like,
well, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. It was a terrible description. And so going and like reading the book, I'm like, okay, I know like they have blue eyes and stuff like that. But then like after going back and like it's so interesting, like when she first like stumbles upon the oasis and how there's like the mysterious note from the other Bene Gesserit that had been there before her, and how they all kind of work together. And it just the way that the universe works, it's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. He spent so many years researching and putting this story together. I love the way his mind works, and we see, Brian Herbert has done a good job with continuing his father's legacy. He's done the expanded books and everything, but he doesn't come close to me as far as just what Frank Herbert did. His writing style is different for me, and that's. But I appreciate what Brian Herbert is doing for sure in his continued devotion to his father's legacy. But yeah, there is definitely a difference in writing technique, and it's just not everyone can do it. I feel like Brian Herbert's more like the kind of fan fiction-y kind of style, but I don't want to trash him too much because I do appreciate his work for sure.
Well, there's also like a different age and experience that goes into it. Like he's never walked in his father's shoes. Well, maybe he has literally, but I guess figuratively not.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, it's always going to be different. And I think I was actually talking to Drunker Cecil, but like whenever you see art and it's like, oh, instantly if you are familiar with art, and it's like, oh yeah, I know who drew this. And they're like, well, how do you know that artist did that? I'm like, it's like a person's voice. You know it when you hear it. Even though I've never met you in person, I've never seen you. If there was, just a stream and nobody had avatars, I would know it was you when you spoke.
Aww.
And so it's like, well, it's like with writing too. It's like you can just pick it up and it's like, oh, I recognize this author. And so when another author comes and picks it up, it's kind of like, I haven't read his. I'm one of those people that it's like, I read the first one, I got into the other ones, and I'm like, it kind of falls off. I didn't, once Paul, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't read these books that came out decades ago, once he goes off into the desert, I'm kind of like, all right, that wasn't what I was expecting. And then I tried the next one and I was like, this really wasn't what I was expecting, but all right, it exists, it's there. I know what happens now. And I'm just going to go back and think about the original one. But
yeah, that's interesting. I like the first three actually of Frank Herbert's the most, but I do like the continuing stories, but those are my favorite. It's so different, yeah. Takes you places you didn't expect.
Is it worth getting into the newer ones?
It's not the same. I don't know. Again, it's a lot like fan fiction-y thing. It's very different writing style. But it's, I mean, if you're interested, and I don't know,
You sound very enthusiastic.
I know. I'm just a diehard Frank Herbert fan, but I appreciate it's just some things Brian Herbert's done has just contradicted some things, I think. But he always says that he's always sticking with his father's canon, and there was but a couple of things just didn't ever really mesh up well with me and his father's writing style.
Yeah.
But that's just me. A lot of people really enjoy those books, and I don't want to badmouth. If you like that, that's what you do. And again, it's kind of like compartmentalized. Same thing with the Star Wars universe. There are things that connect with me and resonate with me more than others. And, Frank Herbert's original Dune saga has resonated with me. And I think the first book, though, and the continuing, I think the follow-up. So it's kind of like a trilogy of those that really resonated with me. Children of Dune is also a really good miniseries. If that might appeal to you more, to see that. Have you seen that?
One with the sister, right?
Yeah, with James McAvoy plays in that. He does a really good job in that.
Let me pull it up. I'm pretty sure I have. My dad always watched those kind of things. I'm just Sting in the bikini is the one that gets me.
I know. I did not appreciate. God. The Harkonnens were so cartoony, and they were not how Frank Herbert portrayed them. They were always just cold, calculated, and they just made them maniacal and crazy and just way weird. I don't know what David Lynch was thinking sometimes. But some things I did like. So again, it's like I compartmentalize things that I did appreciate, and it introduced a lot of people to the universe of Dune and to Frank Herbert's books, and so I appreciate it for what it is. But it's still not an adaptation, a faithful one, I think.
Yeah, which is, I feel like they are trying with this one. I don't know. I had seen something that the director said that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's been a while now, so I'm not too sharp on what exactly it was. I'd have to go back and see what it was.
Sharon Duncan Brewster, is that? They cast her as Liette, the male character.
No, that wasn't. It was he said something about, I think, the worms or the spice.
Villeneuve did?
Yes, the director. It was kind of an offhanded comment in one of his interviews, but I remember I was like, huh? And I think it had to do in the design of the still suits. I'd have to go track it down. It was just something that I saw in passing, and I was like, what? That's tiny little red flag, but obviously it wasn't enough for me to remember clearly what it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
It's okay. I'm just interested to see what it's actually going to look like when it's finished. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to do the Baron, because I absolutely love the actor that they got to play him. So, and I thought it was really clever I really hope that everyone here in the chat actually knows what happens in this movie. If you don't, the book's been out for a long time. I'm going to spoil it right now. But I like the fact that they got Lady Jessica. I love that she's Scandinavian, and then the actor that's going to play the Baron is Scandinavian as well, since they are
Oh, interesting.
the
I didn't know that.
the thing with the thing.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. If anyone doesn't want to hear, I'm going to spoil the movie. I'm going to spoil the plot twist. Don't listen for the next, I don't know how long. I'm spoiling it. Okay, so since the Baron is Lady Jessica's father, and so I think the actress that plays her, she's from Sweden, and then Stellan Skarsgård, he's Scandinavian. So I liked that they did that, because one of the things that I remember clearly when I was reading the book the second time was how Duke Leto was describing Lady Jessica and how he was so happy that, he thought she was so beautiful and that she brought some kind of class with her features into his family. and that Paul kind of looked like her. And so the first time you read it, it's like, oh, it's just a man admiring that his wife is so beautiful. But then the second time you read it, it's like, oh shit, that's a plot point. There's a reason why he says that. It's because of the family resemblance. And then you find out that at the end. And so I was like, that's clever. And so then looking at the casting, when I heard, I wasn't too familiar with her, but then I had seen, she was in the Mission Impossible, and I thought she did a good job in that. And I was like, and then they got Stellan Skarsgård. I was like, I see what you guys are doing there. I like it.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't even know that. So yeah, I'm learning. The only thing I wish that, this was a thing too, that Rebecca Ferguson did not read the book.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing for me, just because, if you have a small role, fine, whatever. But she is like just as much of a main character as Paul is. And and even more, like, there's so much, backstory and intricate, complex themes involved in her character. There's so many things at once in her mind that she's contemplating. And I just feel like this doesn't come across in dialogue. A lot of it is just this internal struggle. And I don't feel like you can really get that by just being told secondhand, from the director. And the director knows, so I have that confidence in him to be able to convey that to Jessica or to Rebecca Ferguson. But yeah, that was I know. I wish she had read it, because she's missing out for sure.
Maybe it's because there's some actors that they don't want to have any connection or any prior knowledge to the character before they play them, because Anthony Hopkins is like that. What he does is that whatever lines that he needs to have memorized, he just says each line 250 times and gets into the mood of the character and figures them out by saying the lines over and over again. And that's how he's able to put on the performance. But for Silence of the Lambs, he didn't do any type of research on serial killers, or he didn't read it. He didn't look into it at all. Whereas the actor that played Buffalo Bill did intense research on different type of serial killers and like the mindset of being a psychopath. And so two very different acting styles, two very different performances, but they both still did amazing. And so I think because of that, like, when actors or actresses say like, oh, I don't want to know anything, or I'm not going to read this, or I'm not going to do that, sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe it's just that's how they have to do it, because maybe if they do have some kind of connection, it will mess with their portrayal of it.
Yeah, no, I understand that for sure. And some, it could be an overload of information. But she did come out and say that she had read it. So she did contradict herself later and said that she couldn't finish reading it. So, and that was her process. She did look at information, and she said that she was looking at information like message boards and like community boards and all these other sources of information. So she had to rely on other people to tell her about her character, and that's it was just too much for her to read, I guess, and digest. And
audio books.
I know, it's like she said it was like a crossword puzzle for her, and like that's amazing to me. I read it when I was like 13. I don't know. But the audiobook is really good too. If I don't know.
I mean, I feel like these movie stars, they're always flying places. Those flights are pretty long. Just pop in the audiobook if you're not sleeping through it.
Yeah. But I also agree that it depends on the director, and if he knows, and the script is good, and if he knows how to direct the person. So I'm not like too concerned about it. And she is an excellent actress, and I've enjoyed what she's been featured in. And so, yeah, I'm optimistic, cautiously.
You know what's going to be, I feel like for you personally, it's probably going to be the biggest, cliffhanger ever, since they're breaking up the movie or the book into 2 movies.
Yeah, I know. And there's been I know they intend to do the sequel, but I haven't heard yet of any news of production starting, and everything now filming is just delayed. There was supposed to be a Dune series, The Sisterhood, that was supposed to have been in production November or last month. I haven't even heard any news that it was canceled or delayed. There's been like 0 news about it. So I'm just hoping. I don't know. But now that the first film has been delayed, that just delays the sequel even further, and no. But we always have the book, so there's that.
I'm just thinking about you, and I'm like, oh gosh, you want to watch it right now, and it's going to be delayed, and then the sequel's going to be years and years. It's going to take a lot of time. I feel like that's the one kind of thing about this whole situation is it's not just that, it's everything. Everything is going to be delayed now. So even, we're going to get Mando season 2 is going to be finished, but then Mando season 3 is not going to come for a very long time. And then even like with the Lord of the Rings that we're going to get into after this, it's like, I don't think that that's finished filming. I think they're still casting people. So these years and years into our future.
Yeah, it's definitely put a lot of stuff on hold. And for an ambitious series like Lord of the Rings, I think they had just almost finished filming the first 2 episodes, but they said that they had planned a hiatus anyways. So I don't know, maybe they wanted a certain type of year for like atmosphere and weather or certain conditions. So it didn't sound like it put too much of a delay in their plans.
That's good.
I don't know. Yeah, so hopefully, but I'm not sure how many episodes we'll receive. At first, they might just want to release what they have. It's rumored that they have 20 episodes in this season, the first season, and if they only filmed 2 so far, I don't know. That's gonna be interesting. I'm definitely looking for the news updates on that. If they're gonna release all episodes at once, if it is 20, and that's the rumor, or if they're gonna do in little increments, like 10 episodes at a time or something. I don't know.
I kind of miss the way that they used to do that. Like when you watch The Next Gen and there's like 25 episodes in a season, I'm like, I miss that.
I know. I so do.
I am so tired of all those. Oh, you get 8 episodes. I'm like, give me a break. Make all of the episodes the same length and give me like 20 of them. Keep these actors and actresses working.
I know. And that's one of my gripes too with The Mandalorian. I wish they would be more consistent with their episode length because it's so jarring. Especially this last one, it was only 28 minutes. It's just so up and down with that. And I love those. Seriously, I was a fan of like Star Trek and Stargate, and we have those episodes. There's 24 episodes a season. And their budget was also like, they didn't have the budget that the Mandalorian does, but they concentrated on story and developing the characters, and we got to know these characters and become attached to them over like 10 years. So it's Stargate SG-1 and the continuing story and Star Trek, that's been on for so long, and you grow to have that attachment. And even episodes that are slower, it's fine because you're taking the time to learn more about them individually, and it builds up that anticipation for when those larger big events happen in the mid-season finale or things like that. I don't know. I miss those days.
I do too. Like going back and watching, Star Trek again. And I mean, I watch it all the time. So it's almost become like muscle memory when I know like plot points are going to happen. But it's like when we're watching it together, me and Drunk, and he has no idea what's going to happen. And so I'm just sitting there like,
I love watching y'all watch Star Trek. It's always fun.
Well, I'm glad because I tried watching it back and I'm like, oh my God, why do people watch this? We're sitting there not saying anything, right? I'm eating and crunching and munching. But it's like, Drunk will always say, he's like, okay, well, we have this many minutes left. So what's going to happen? Like, what more can they do? Or like, and so with this, because we don't, know how many minutes are going to be in the episode for the next week. And then it's like, oh, there's only 28 minutes. What could possibly happen in this? And they do that. Like, I feel like more happened in this episode than, happened in the longer episode in the first season. And so now we're going to go back and we're going to go get what is his name? That comedian, Bill Burr?
Bill Burr, yeah.
Yes, Bill Burr. And so it's like, okay, they're going there. So we're going to get a similar plot point.
Like a team up.
Yeah.
I feel like they were following kind of a similar format to the previous season, actually. This season premiere was kind of like a revamping of the Mandalorian and his mission. So it's almost like a redo of his story. And his ship being torn apart the next episode, and it followed a very similar themes. But these last two, especially with Ahsoka and this one, was a little harder for me to predict. I did not expect Boba Fett to show up, so that was a surprise. So I'm glad to be surprised. But yeah, I hope that they continue not, just ripping off what they already did.
Yeah, it's gonna go on a loop, or they're trying to do the episode again, like the the heist.
Yeah, I did like Timothy Oliphant though. He was good at that.
It's gonna be interesting to see again. And sometimes I'm just like, are you just doing this because Bill Burr wants to come back? Like, is that why you're doing this? Because I feel like Mando should be able to do this on his own, but.
I feel like they underutilized him in the last season. I was so excited to see him, but I was just so disappointed by that episode. That was one episode I just didn't connect with me. And I feel like if he might have written his own dialogue, it would have helped. He made some oddball jokes that just didn't seem... I mean, it's Bill Burr.
Well, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy... Like, if he's making a joke, it's going to be funny. And I feel like a lot of it fell flat.
Yes, it did. And I was... and he's hilarious. And he's very smart, too, in his comedy. So I don't know, it's kind of dumbed down for me. And I wish he would have had more input in his dialogue. So I was glad that we're going to see him again, in the sense that, well, I hope that they utilize him better. Same thing with Ming-Na Wen. I was happy to see her again. And I'm glad that she'll be having a bigger part, hopefully, in these next two episodes, because she's cool. I've liked her in everything she's been in, and
she's a good actress.
Yeah, and I played an Imperial sniper, or Imperial agent sniper on SWTOR, so I always liked her character.
Oh, there you go. I think it's going to be interesting to see Mando have to interact more with not only another Mandalorian, but then, a character that kind of, not necessarily in the same profession, but in that same kind of world. And so seeing them all interact together, and like now his ship's gone, so he has to rely on Boba Fett, and the fact that they owe him a debt, and then what's going to happen once that debt gets settled? Is Boba Fett going to stay and mentor him in the ways of like Mandalore, and tell him that, hey, dude, you can take off your helmet, it's okay?
That's interesting too. I didn't really have any expectations with this series when it was announced. A lot of people thought maybe it would just be like a bounty of the week kind of thing. I would have been fine with that too.
I know, I would have been fine with that too. That's just be, like, episodic.
Yeah, so I was very like, it's been quite a ride following this show. But I do like the fact that they're focusing on the Mandalorian culture and expanding upon the conflicts within. That they've had civil wars for so long, that's actually steeped in legends, these differing opinions and ideologies within Mandalore culture. So that's been kind of interesting for me to see developed, and I hope that they continue to develop that further. That wasn't what I was expecting at all. Well, I didn't have any expectations, but I was surprised that they decided to go that route, to like really dig deep into Mandalorian culture. And so he was a bounty hunter to start, but the only reason he was doing that was for the good of the tribe and for the good of the foundlings. And so that added some more depth to it for me. So I appreciate that. And I'm very intrigued by what could happen as far as like Bo-Katan and Boba Fett now. And so it's very interesting, the road that they're going down, and these different ways of what is a Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm intrigued by that and going forward, but I just better not witness Boba Fett dying with my own two eyes. I'm serious. I cannot take it again. I don't think Jon Favreau would do that, because he's such a huge fan. This is what this whole series was based on, basically, was Boba Fett. So that's what I'm holding on to, but he better not die. I'm just saying. I'd rather see Mando die than Boba Fett.
Dude, I'm with you. I don't like Mando at all. I would be completely fine if Mando died and Boba Fett just took over the show. That'd be fine. You could still call it The Mandalorian.
I want him to be Mandalore. I don't know. That's an option.
That would be nice. That would be an interesting curve of events to see. And then having to explain to people that haven't played the games or knows any of the EU and what that actually means to be Mandalore.
Yeah, it's so different too, because there's always been like the Mandalorian Civil Wars. There's been like these different conflicts and how the pacifist conflict, like whether they should be neutral and stay out of affairs, whether they are this warrior race or whether they want peace. But that's kind of in conflict too. And whether or not foundlings are true Mandalorians, that's also an aspect of this too. It's such a deep realm, such a deep lore of the Mandalorians themselves that they can draw from, a deep well. And I hope that they can. And I did enjoy the fact that they kind of reiterated Jango's backstory, which has changed so many different times.
I know.
So I appreciate that. That actually I liked about their backstory. I resonated with that part of Jango being a foundling. But it's changed different ways, and I'm fine with that too. I want to be a little bit consistent, I guess, going forward, especially since it's about the Mandalorian. I don't know. Hopefully they can do that. I'm excited and intrigued, and I'm a disappointed optimist from what happened with the sequel trilogy, and I try to look for the good where there is good. I feel like we're all in that same boat. We're like Luke Skywalker, which we want to have hope. We want to see the good in things, and we want to look forward. And so I hope that Disney appreciates and what they have. And from what I've seen so far with The Mandalorian, they're trying to make good with the fans, but they've got to there's irreparable damage that's been done. But if they're telling good Star Wars stories, I think that's what the majority of fans want. So that's what I want. I just want a good story.
Yeah, I think the problem though because at the end of the day, it's all leading to the sequel trilogy because that's what's in the future. And so not only are they under the constraints of what Disney has done, but also it's like that's what the future is going to lead up to. So unless they do something to where maybe part of the thing is, since they now, they said Thrawn's name, so they're going to go find Thrawn. And if they go maybe and try to, my hopes would be, and what my idea would be to try to solve this problem of that, if I was the showrunner and that was looming in my character's future and the future of the galaxy, I'd say, fuck it. We're going to a place that would explain why we were not here, why Mandalorians were not involved in, the sequel trilogy, why we weren't there to, either fix it or, beat Kylo Ren into his place. So I'd be like, all right, we're doing the Thrawn thing. All right, let's go into the unknown regions of space. Maybe, Bo-Katan, Mando, Boba Fett all meet up. They decide, okay, well, it didn't work out here. We need to go rebuild. We need to go get our numbers up. We need to, remake Mandalore. Planet is can't go back to, our actual planet. We got to go somewhere else. We got to find Thrawn anyway. Let's go to the unknown regions. Let's go regroup. Let's go do that. So that way, decades from now, when Luke Skywalker turns into, Jake Skywalker, we won't be there and it won't have any effect on us.
Yeah, ideally, I just want those rendered non-canon.
I know.
And really, from what I've seen so far, it just doesn't make sense. Even from what The Mandalorian has said, and in this time period, it does not fit well with what's going to happen. Like, how does and shouldn't Snoke be around already? And we only saw the beginnings of the research of what looked like to be clones of Snoke in a couple episodes back. But shouldn't Snoke be around? Because Ben is 4 years old? Shouldn't he be this old clone-ish around this time? If he's supposed to be seducing him to the dark side around how old was he? Teenage years?
Yeah.
So how is that supposed to happen in 10 years? And he's and this huge first order is supposed to arrive. It just doesn't make sense so far with how it's supposed to connect. So I'm hoping, yes, that they're trying to divert from that. And if they're looking towards to do like a multiverse kind of thing, or just like exit this universe altogether, like the unknown regions, like you were saying. They have already laid the groundwork though for kind of the multiverse with the world between worlds kind of aspect to it. Right now, it just doesn't seem to fit, even for what we've seen with the Mandalorian. It seems more in keeping to me with the Legends and how the state of the Empire is right now, and the state of the New Republic. And we only saw like little glimpses of what the research was. So it doesn't seem to be completely lining up. I mean, there was a little bit, I guess, of a thing, but it still doesn't add up to what happens in the sequel trilogy for me.
Well, and it's like, well, what's going to happen to Baby Yoda? Because Baby Yoda wasn't there in the sequel trilogy when
Does he die?
The Last Jedi. It's like, oh yeah, The Last Jedi. Give me a freaking break. At this time period, isn't Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Luke? They're supposed to be air quote the last Jedis, the last ones. But Ahsoka's out there. Apparently, Baby Yoda's out there. He's gonna go on a rock. Well, he already went on the rock and called out to the other Jedi. And also, it's like, but there's Sith out there too, and they're force sensitive. They can sense him too. So are a bunch of Sith? Did you just alert the Sith to Baby Yoda?
Yeah, that's interesting too. I mean, we just assumed. I mean, there's other Force users, and I was thinking that too. Like, what if it's not necessarily a light side Force user that comes across him? He's used Force choke like other like dark side abilities, and it looks like they were out of fear. So there's that. But yeah, if they're out there, that's also a possibility, and not necessarily bad story wise. That could be very interesting. Yeah, it's just very odd. They're very much painted into a corner, story wise. So either they're gonna have to meet up eventually, but unless they decide to do this multiverse thing, or unless they decide to fundamentally change and just say that it's non-canon, or that it's just a type of canon or secondary canon, or even that, and that they're kind of like starting over from this point and going forward. I have no idea what they have planned. I want them to pay tribute to the legacy characters, and if they're going to have Thrawn involved, I mean, he was a main antagonist for Han, Luke, and Leia. So they've got to come into the picture at some point, I would think. So that's why there's like more and more rumors about Sebastian Stan stepping into his role, because how can you avoid it if they're going to stay in this sector of the universe? And then I don't know, and especially if they're contending with the Emperor, the Empire itself, what's left of it. I don't see how that could be avoided, not running into them or not. So I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll just say, fuck it. We're not even going to mention the sequel. We're not going to do anything that would lead to
pretend it doesn't exist.
Like I do. They just slyly do that? Because, I mean, to be honest, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy watches the show. I don't think she pays attention to any of this. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni both know, she's not going to be around forever. So they're like, if we can just keep the show going long enough, not acknowledge anything from the sequel trilogy, and everything that we do breaks the canon and just has jabs at the sequel trilogy, maybe they just keep doing that and rewriting history. And then maybe whoever comes in and, takes over can just say, oh, well, just decanonize the sequel trilogy.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, because it looks like they have to take these measures to even work in Hollywood these days. So, I mean, Jon Favreau has said things in interviews and everything. He said that, I'm a fan of Star Wars, and if the fans don't dig what you're doing, I don't know if I could keep doing it. Yeah. So he realizes it's an important part, that the fans are an important part, and that's something that Rian Johnson and these other people continue to dismiss the fans and actively work against. in contention with. So at least I see glimpses of him trying to work within this system currently. And he's trying to make it work. There's still some stuff that he needs to work on, and I hope that I think the show's heading in the right direction as far as paying tribute to the original and even the prequels. I've seen a couple of things that that pay tribute to all those films under George Lucas. So I'm happy with that. Morgan's origin story. I agree. That's going to be the next Disney Plus series.
Yep.
That and Watto.
Also, congratulations on your cameo drunk and your action figure. We're all so happy for you. The t-shirt guy, we know who that really was. That was you.
Yep. He's gotten in with Gina.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Also, I was just alerted, everyone. I guess in a few days, there's going to be a giving in honor of Gina Day. So it's a hashtag. But I will give more information on that when I find it out. But apparently there's going to be like a Gina fan day. Interesting.
That's awesome. It's very interesting, too, that the actors in The Mandalorian have had such backlash with certain fans, like Rosario Dawson and Gina Carano and Bill Burr. But they're like have major parts in The Mandalorian. It's very interesting.
Well, I feel like at this point, if you want to be a professional actor, you can't have social media. Because if you like...
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't either. If you say one thing out of place... Or like, let's say you support this one, like somebody comes to your door and they're like, will you support this charity? It's to like help homeless children. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'll help this charity support homeless children. And, you like, oh, I hope like, kids get a home, or like, I hope it helps. Do something like out of, the kindness of your heart. But then somebody on Twitter goes down a rabbit hole and finds out the person that created this charity to help children once did this bad thing like 30 years ago. And they're like, you supported that one charity. You're trying to do a good thing. Well, guess what? You're evil. You're a racist, homophobic, transphobic person. You need to get canceled. It's like, but I just donated like $5,000 to homeless children. Like, we don't care. You're canceled.
I know, it's terrible. And like, what's the actress now that's going through that? Letitia?
Yeah, Letitia Wright.
Right? I know. It seemed harmless at the time. But it's never, anything on social media can be construed so many different ways. And I just would stay away if I was in the public eye that much, because it's become this thing that's just so toxic, and people just hide under the guise of anonymity and say the most horrible things. And I know you've experienced that yourself, and it's just, it can be such a horrible environment. And what it's supposed to do is connect people. But if you're using it to say awful and terrible things, it's just for someone just saying an opinion, or for someone, that doesn't really hurt anything either. I don't know. It's sad what's become the state of just stating an opinion, and I know it's sad for action. I would just stay away, because it's become such. I just use it for networking now and staying in touch, but it becomes a tough thing. I don't know, to be open that much to the world. Yeah.
Well, it's just it's weird, because you would think like posting something and it wouldn't be controversial. You don't even think twice about it, and then you go back and you check Twitter, and then it's like World War fucking 3, and it's like, what on earth just happened? Like, why is this world? Why are you guys all upset? And it's like, I couldn't even imagine the stuff that Gina Carano gets just when I was seeing the whole, fire Gina Carano. And it's like, she's just posting her opinion. I'm sure all these people trying to cancel her are posting their opinions every single day, and not all of them everyone else in the world is going to love. But it's just so bizarre. And you find now that the celebrities that everyone just loves are the ones that don't have social media.
Yeah, that's true. Like Keanu Reeves, I think, is very private.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of other celebrities too that just stay out of the of that circle. Ryan Gosling, I think, is another one. And we don't hear any controversies about it. It's just a mix of being that accessible and people hiding under anonymity and just, saying just whatever, no matter how hurtful it is. And I don't know. And for that to have any sway as far as like, I mean, it shouldn't have any sway. Like if someone, like there's calls to cancel Gina Carano and get her fired. Same thing for Rosario Dawson there was. Like just, it shouldn't have anything to do with their jobs. They didn't say anything that warranted that. But, well, and that's just my opinion too. But I don't know. I guess it kind of fit. Or Gina was just kind of trolling a little bit too, but
She just laughed.
She could take it. I think she can take it more.
I think Gina's a very unique case because she knows for a fact that if any of these people, like none of them would have the balls to say what they say to her online to her face because
Oh, for sure.
they know and she knows that she could take them out instantly.
Yeah.
So she has a little bit more confidence in that area, but it's such a bizarre world we live in where they're like, oh, well, we want this thing. We've been saying, oh, yeah, we need more women and minorities and people of color and this, and that. And then they get them. But then the second that they do something that they don't like, it's like, they're the embodiment of all evil. And there's like, what's going to happen when, like, I feel like a lot of the people in the cast of Dune, aside from Timothy and Zendaya, are, older, so they probably don't have social media. And or if they do, it's like ran by their publicists. But it's like, what's going to happen with like these new people? Because aren't they getting more unknown or like just like TV stars for the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, there's a lot of that I'm not deeply familiar with. There was 20 new cast members announced just a few days ago, and the only one I was like super familiar with was Sir Lenny Henry. He's a great comedian, actually, but he's also been in Broadchurch and other dramas. So he's very versatile. And then there was another one, Peter Tate, who has been in actually Return of the King. He had the role of Shagrat, the one of the Urukai who found Frodo. So that was kind of cool. He's from New Zealand himself. There's several New Zealand people. So that probably helped as well, have actors from New Zealand play certain roles.
To be there on set, but it's like just like this main...
the main people? Yeah, not really.
You don't know who they are? I guess.
Well, I see Joseph Mall is from Game of Thrones, I believe, and Robert Arameo. I think he's been in. Was he from Game of Thrones as well?
I'm terrible with actors' names. I have to see people's pictures.
Joseph Mall is supposed to be the main villain. He's currently rumored. He's currently known or listed as Orin, a character known as Orin, which is not a character in Tolkien's works. So it could be a code name. It possibly is. I would think it's a code name because they don't want to give away too much stuff. I don't think if he's what is he? The pretty version of Sauron. What is his name? The fair version of Sauron. Let me look it up. I have such a bad memory when I
For the actor, are you looking for?
Anatar. I'm sorry. So Sauron did have a fair form in the Second Age, Anatar, and I'm not sure if they're gonna focus on that. But that was during the time of the Rings of Power were forged. So I'm not sure if Joseph Mall is Sauron, but they did say that he was the main villain. It could be like a completely different villain, and they're not even sticking with the strictly with the Silmarillion. It could be like an offshoot or something based on these stories, but they cannot change the events that happened in the Second Age. That's one of their stipulations. So everything that happened in the Second Age has been established by Tolkien happens. Yeah, so what stories are going to focus, whether it will be part of these main storylines, like the rise and fall of Numenor, the creation of the Rings of Power. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know, but they did have a picture of the island of Numenor, which are ancestors of Aragorn. He's from that line. So it's, yeah,
Do you
interesting.
think Tom Bombadil is going to be in it?
I don't think so. I don't know. No, I don't think he was around. Wasn't that the third age? I have to research that. I don't think he was around the second age, but I have to look that up.
I'm trying to remember how old he said he was, because it's been a while. Because there are some characters that if you read the books, they're in the books, they're not in the films. Which I don't think it took too much away from the films, to be honest. But it is a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to find.
Yeah,
it.
no Bombadil. That third age, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was definitely in the Lord of the Rings. So I don't know. There's a lot of when you look at the actors, it's really hard to determine like who could play who. A lot of them, there's a few that are very fair. Morphic Clark is playing Galadriel. That's the only thing we know for sure. Elrond and Sauron are confirmed to make appearances, but we don't know who's portraying them.
Oh, I know he's a little too old, but I would love if Hugo Weaving came back.
I know, that would be great. I really do. And I even wish that Ian McKellen could at least maybe do some voice work or something. Like some narrating. I mean, I know he's not around as Gandalf, but it would be cool if he did some if they did some narrating of events, like if they're recapping like the first age.
It kind of like how Galadriel did it in the very beginning. And
yeah.
I would even be fine with that too if they just got Cate Blanchett to come in and, you know, be the narrator of it and then just say, oh yeah, you know, back when I was much younger, like this is what happened, or I've already told you the story of, you know, the Rings of Power, so let me tell you how they were forged. And I think that would be a really cool tie-in to the first movie because she was the one that gave us the backstory on everything.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's just so iconic. I used to be able to recite that too. Like, but I love that. She's such an amazing actress. I know that Elijah Wood has said he would love to make an appearance for sure. Of course, obviously he's not around, but he would love to be invited. So I think there's some that would at least could make cameos or extras. That'd be kind of neat if they did that. Like Stephen Colbert made.
You could just be in the background. Peter Jackson was in all of the Lord of the Rings. He's got his little cameos. They can do it.
And the guy from Flight of the Conchords, he's from New Zealand. Oh, I can't remember. I know it's Jermaine. What's the other one's name? But he played an elf in Lord of the Rings.
Which elf?
Just part of Arwen's party. Let's see. He was like escorting her.
Oh, was he the one that spoke to her?
Yeah.
And he's like, Lady Arwen.
But he was brought back for the Hobbit movies too.
Oh
gosh, I have to look it up. It's the other half of the Flight of the Conchords. Not Jermaine, the other one.
Guys, I see in the chat people were talking about politics because I saw people screaming to not talk about politics. Please keep politics out of my chat. If my mods see people talking about politics, that's one thing. I'm like, just leave that out, please and thank you. Mods will time you out if politics do get brought up. But I did see that there was a rather large super chat that came in. I apologize for not reading it immediately. People had to scream at me. So I apologize, but holy crap. Reed Valentina, thank you so much. That's so incredibly kind of you. And I appreciate you being here. And thank you again. Novels are like painting, specifically watercolors. Every stroke you put down, you have to go with. Of course, you can rewrite, but the original strokes are still there in the texture of the thing. Joan Didon, it is the same with something like Star Wars material. Well, thank you. So I don't know if you've had Reed, Paul, and Tina in your chat, but Reed is awesome and always drops in like these very inspirational quotes, and they always have to do with the topic. So I'm like, are you just an encyclopedia of amazing quotes?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well,
For
thank
sure.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will leave this up here for a while so everyone else can read it and get some
Thank you.
life lessons from it. Thank you. That is very true. There is a trick though with watercolors, depending on how much pigment you use with the water. I use this tactic where, and a lot of watercolor artists use it, but you have like a paper towel next to you, and so you'll put it down, and you put down the color, then you lift it, and so as long as you're not using like a very deep blue or black, which I mean watercolors, there's not really black. You have to get India ink, but there is a way to remove it, but you're right. The original strokes are still there. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I don't know, I feel like the continuity and George did change some things. And there are little things that didn't really affect the story much, like as far as Leia having memories of her mother, but there was also things, the introduction of midi-chlorians was a huge thing too that didn't at first really seem, and I still struggle with that as well. That's something I compartmentalize myself, as far as the mysticism of the Force. It just seemed to kind of contradict, but there are also other little things too. Who shot first? Another
Oh, we don't know.
little things.
Greedo didn't even shoot. Han shot.
Yeah, but even the background of like the Fets and whether or not they were Mandalorians and the introduction of them being a template for the clones. I mean, there's such, I don't know, it's become such a diverse but I agree. If you lay something down that's like huge and indisputable, I think it'd be best to stick with it. But it's the canon over the decades, and all these different people that have been involved in crafting these stories, whether it's in comics books or video games, and what's been canon at first and then rendered non-canon later. It's just become its own kind of monster, basically. And people connect more with certain things. People connect more with the fact that the Fets were just bounty hunters, regular bounty hunters, than they were being Mandalorians. So, I mean, if that's what you connect with, then yeah, and embrace that. I mean, I still think that that's in keeping with the core of what Star Wars is. I don't think it changes the core of what the Fets were, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I agree that it's yeah. If you lay something heavy down, you got to stick with it.
Well, I never really cared for Mandalorians. I felt like everyone is like, oh, these are cool. And I'm like, yeah, the armor's cool. But I was always so wrapped up in the mysticism of the Jedi and, Luke Skywalker. And I was like, yeah, Boba Fett did something in Empire Strikes Back, but he wouldn't have been able to capture Han if it wasn't for Darth Vader basically doing it for him. And then, he just dies in the beginning of Return of the Jedi. So I wasn't I was like, he looks cool, but he doesn't impress me. And so watching the prequels, I was like, okay, Jango's actually legit. And he died because he was fighting a Jedi. And I was like, dude had the balls to fight a Jedi with a blaster. Like, come on. He's like, he's a pretty legit dude. And so when, I started having my channel and talking about this stuff, and I kind of just said, I'm like, yeah, I don't really like the Mandalorians. Like, I don't really care too much for them. Yeah, I watch Clone Wars and I watch Rebels, but I still, I think the biggest inkling I got for kind of having some kind of positive feelings towards them, aside from they looked cool, was the whole Satine and Obi-Wan arc. And I was like, okay, but you guys are still kind of dicks. And so everyone told me I needed to play KOTOR. And I was like, all right, I'll play KOTOR. And that's when I got to meet Canderous, and you learn about, the Mandalorian versus the Jedi Wars, and, why that was so important, and how, why Revan left and who Revan was. And so it was just that was my first like, holy crap, Mandalorians are actually kind of badass. And that whole story and everything in KOTOR has to do with what came before, because the people that wrote those games, you can tell that they, loved original Star Wars. And so they were utilizing these characters and these philosophies that were laid down, before them, and, even borrowing from EU novels to do these video games. And it added so much more. So even though it was new and it was different back then when it came out, because I'm playing these games like decades later, but there's still so much in them that has to do with what came before, and it wouldn't be able to exist if it wasn't for the originals and, the things that spun off because of that. So there's a way to do things, and I've seen it. I'm like, yeah, my favorite era of Star Wars now is, KOTOR era.
The Old Republic, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I'm like, I was so like, you can now make me think a Mandalorian is cooler than a Jedi. And then I played it and I was like, all right, you guys got me.
That's awesome too. And yeah, that's something that resonated with me more was KOTOR and SWTOR and the Old Republic and the books that came from that. Revan, Fatal Alliance. I haven't read all of them. I think there's one based on Theron Shan I still have yet to read. But that's era has always fascinated me. And that's what spawned from the prequel. So I will always love, them for setting the stage for the expansion, which the expanded lore is just so intricate and so interesting. And I love this time period. So that I appreciate for sure. Like even if some things don't make sense continuity wise, it opens up a lot of room for storytelling and expansion on things that we might not have known about before. So I embrace that for sure. And I have my issues with the prequels, but there's still parts that I really love. Jango Fett definitely was one of them, and Darth Maul was really cool. And Revenge of the Sith, I really the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin, that was always the best part, I think, for me of those. I didn't really believe the romance story between Anakin and Padme, but there are other reasons for that. Just the dialogue is really bad. But the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin was what meant more, I think, and especially in what happens later in the original trilogy. So I did appreciate that for sure, and I was brought to tears at the end of Revenge of the Sith for sure. But what spawned from that is just it's amazing. Other people that are brought in to develop these stories and expand upon this epic universe, and some things just resonate with you more than others. Yeah, and KOTOR is definitely one of them. SWTOR and all those. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, loved all those. I even love the Star Wars Pod Racer game. That was fun. I don't really like racing games, but I played that. So even the Phantom Menace brought me some delight in that way.
I just remember like all of the toys because I was pretty young when that movie came out, and just getting all the toys, and like everyone's like, Anna, you love Star Wars. There's new Star Wars and you're a kid and there's all these toys. So I was like, this is the best year ever. I remember that very clearly because I got all of the new Star Wars toys because me and my sisters are a lot younger than everyone else in the family. And so we were the little ones in the family. And so toys came out, and everyone in the family, they're like, oh, we only have 3 kids to buy toys for? Cool. And they're like, oh, only one of them likes Star Wars? Let's just give her all the Star Wars stuff. And so
nice.
I had the blow up Jar Jar chair. Like, of course, everything they got me was Jar Jar.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. But I remember that I was like, he might not be the best character, but that chair was cool. I got that chair. But again, just to play off the quote again, it's like, yeah, none of that would have happened if it wasn't for what came before it. And although, yes, the I don't like sand is extremely painful, but I remember thinking like, that's a little weird. And then as an adult, it's like, okay, that's really weird. And then I'm like, yeah, that's really cringy, like as a teenager. And then going through, a big portion of my life and going on dates. And I'm like, actually, that was pretty romantic compared to some of the dates I've been on. I'm watching it now and I'm like, Not every guy is James Bond. Sometimes the I don't like sand thing is like freaking Shakespeare compared to some of the stuff guys have said on dates before. So I'm a little
that's funny.
forgiving on that.
I think the line I actually had like more questions on when it was in Revenge of the Sith actually, and he's watching Padme brush her hair.
Oh, that's so weird.
And she's like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. It's because I'm so in love." No, it's because I'm so in love with you. I'm like, I don't get it.
I know. You know what also bothered me? I'm like, her hair is curled. That's not natural curls. Also,
Who's brushing their hair? Yeah.
I'm like, why are you brushing out your curls? It's going to turn into a frizzy mess. It's like, I hated the whole like, oh, so love has blinded you. I'm like, what on earth is this?
Who talks like that?
No one. It's so bizarre. And I'm just like, ugh.
But, George Lucas had help writing the screenplay, too. There were dialogue issues, as Sir Alec Guinness noted, and other actor. You just need someone to look at those lines and say that's, no one would say that in that situation. But still, I appreciate it. I do. I actually like the micro-series Clone Wars. I think that did a good job at, and the CG, too. Kind of made those moments more natural. I know. Again, it's like the other stuff that fleshes it out.
Well, I remember they were advertising the next episode of the Clone Wars, and it's like, ooh, is Padme gonna die? And I'm just like, of course she's not gonna die. We know she's gonna be in the movie, and she's gonna die in the movie. She's not gonna die in this random episode of the Clone Wars where she drinks like poison. And just thinking it was the most bizarre marketing tool. Because I'm like, what kind of cliffhanger is that supposed to be? Of course she lives. It should be like, oh, is Padme going to achieve this mission? Or is Anakin going to have to come save her? It's like, okay, well, that one, I don't know the answer to. But is she going to die? Of course she's not going to die.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to make those babies.
Yeah, those babies, for whatever reason, she has a bigger stomach in the beginning of the movie than at the end, right before she pops out 2 full-sized babies. Not tiny itty-bitty twin babies, 2 full-size giant babies.
Oh, and that pregnancy robot. Ooba, what was it saying?
Yeah. Ooba, ooba. But just I guess just yanks them out of her.
That's supposed to soothe you.
Even my mom was just like, her legs aren't wide enough. Her belly's not big enough. Her legs aren't wide enough.
She was like contained in this I don't know what that even is, like a dog collar for your legs.
I was like, what on earth? I get it, they weren't trying to be graphic, but yeah, that's not what it's like. Sorry, everyone, getting too much into the nitty-gritty of this. But let me read a couple of super chats. I see people yelling at me, and Drunk is complaining, so of course I have to go find it. Sorry, Drunk. I got carried away with conversation. Let me go find them. Oh, yeah, Drunk, you did send a super chat. It has been a little while, so I apologize. Raging Rhino, thank you for the super chat. Don't read a lethal super chat. Say hi to Nerd Cookies for me. Well, Raging Rhino says hello.
Oh, thanks, Raging.
Tamarius East, thank you for the super chat. I was just kidding with my Rihanna super chat. I know. It's okay. Anna, so far, how is the season comparing to last season? Thoughts on Bo-Katan and Kara episodes? I hated the first season. Like it's painful to watch. Like it, when there's something that's like, okay, this isn't the worst thing on TV, so I can like sit down and watch it because there's nothing else on. If this was the only thing on TV, I'd turn off the TV. Like I wouldn't even sit there and watch it. Once was enough. And I loved the Bo-Katan episode, and I did like the Apollo Creed directed episode. And I think also I am a little bit biased because I do really like Gina Carano in real life. So every time she is able to be on screen, I do enjoy it. And I'm always pleasantly surprised because I wouldn't necessarily think that somebody that went into a professional, athletic career could make that transition into an acting career. So I've been pleasantly surprised that her abilities are, proving to be good. What do you think?
That's cool. Actually, I have been impressed by the fact that they've been casting ones from that background of actual fighting. You see, and Sasha Banks as well was in this in that Bo-Katan episode. So that was kind of cool. She had that. She did very well. I loved her hair.
Oh, yeah.
But she was pretty cool, and that's interesting that they have been actively. And there was a famous stunt woman who played the magistrate in Ahsoka's episode. She's like really close with Bruce Lee. So that's kind of cool that they're casting ones from a background like that. That's have actually been fighters as opposed to actors first, and that's their first profession. But we've seen that crossover before with The Rock and
Like John Cena now too.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I can think of his name, and John Cena. So that was kind of neat. And it's done in such a good way to where it's not made a huge deal of. And I think that's why people really like it. It makes sense for these characters that they're portraying to have that, that fighter background and that physique. So that's cool. And they don't make such a huge deal out of it either. It's not, it just is what it is. And that's why I really like it. Yeah. They're strong characters. They're strong already, but they don't make entire like narratives based around that. It's just, they are what they are, and they're good actors too.
Yeah, I feel like they have this other, it's like this presence, or because I would say like an air of confidence, but it's not even that. It's like they hold themselves differently. And I feel like sometimes when you get like somebody that's trained as a professional actor, I don't know, they get this big head on their shoulders, like this is what this is. And then somebody that has that, other background, they come in and it kind of seems a little bit more natural. Like they're just people. And yeah, they're saying lines, they're putting on a costume, but they're more real in a way. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a little bit more of an organic performance as compared to something that kind of feels forced. And I mean, just look at the difference between Cara Dune and that performance as compared to Rey. And, Daisy Ridley is somebody that has been in acting in like art schools since she was a kid. She's been training for this her entire life. And we got that. We got what we got. And then look at the difference between Gina Carano.
Yeah, for sure. And when she was taking out bad guys, like there was one where she was putting in a sleeper hold in that episode that Carl Weathers directed. Mm-hmm. It looked realistic. Yeah, she could definitely do that. And it's nice because it adds that element of realism to this fantasy world, which I appreciate. There should be those elements. And Villeneuve actually says that as well in his films, that there should be real elements because the performances come out better. And this is a different element of that, but the background that she has makes her performance better. And it's something that she can draw from personally that comes out in her performance. She can draw from that. And it just gives the actors something they can work with. So whether it's their background or it's whatever sets that you build around them, it's either to build a believable performance. So I've appreciated the fact that they're using real sets or at least I don't know, that they're using this different technology with The Mandalorian, which is very interesting. But it's so the actors can interact with these real elements, but also as far as these background that these actresses have, their fighter background and these athletic background, it comes across as real in their performance. And I appreciate that. It really does help for us to believe it.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. And then, yeah, Spike and Mischief, it's called Acting Confident Compared to Real Confidence. That is also very much apparent as well. And I mean, it's just, you got to have some real life balls to go on in a movie for hours and just scream, Ray, Ray, and then, still walk with your shoulders back and your head up in real life after doing that. But I mean, that's one thing, like John Boyega, he had the charisma. He's
a great actor.
Yeah,
I've seen him in other things. Yeah, it's a waste.
it really is. But so then you put that as compared to, you know, in the nicest way possible, a do what you're told by the book kind of stone performance that you got from Daisy Ridley. And there's some, I'm not saying that she's, a definitive, bad actress. There's some actors that they need to work with the right director to bring a performance out of them, and I think she's not there yet. As much as I don't like Adam Driver, he is good at what he does some of the time, and she wasn't on par with John Boyega or Adam Driver or a majority of the cast that she was up against. And so I think that hindered them as compared to, you just like Cara Dune, that she's not the leader of this show. She's just, a character that's in every other episode, and she holds her ground. You're wondering, okay, she can hold her own against Mando, against, these other characters. You're not worried about her, and you're not, her performance isn't standing out like a sore thumb because she's on par with all these other people that have been actors and have trained, their entire life, and she hasn't.
Yeah, and she actually probably has the most I don't know, she has the most complicated history, I would think, because of her background.
Yeah.
She was able to portray real, it looks like real feelings of just huge loss and grief, and how she's striving to cope with that. So she probably had the biggest job of them all as far as that, like what she has to convey. I mean, Pedro Pascal has the helmet on that whole time. We don't have to see his face, just he just has to gesture, and Jack 3PO loves Gina. I know she's great.
We know. We're talking about your girlfriend. we know. Of course you're here, and of course you're going to be happy. I'm going to move on to the next super chat before Drunk's head.
Go ahead.
Ted Borgen, thank you for the super chat. Anna, Luke won't be in this, and if he is, I owe you $20 super chat. No, you owe Nerd Cookies a $20 super chat. Cecil is more likely to be a Jedi than Luke is in the show. Again,
I don't know. Well, who? There's only so many possibilities. There's Cal Kestis, there's Ezra Bridger, and there's Luke. And unless Ahsoka changes her mind, but I don't know.
Some people are saying Samuel L. Jackson.
I know. And you know what? He should come back. If Palpatine has returned, if Darth Maul has returned, that it's not that outlandish.
What if they do that, actually? What if my theory is right and a Sith fills his presence, so Darth Maul shows up out of the blue to train Baby Yoda?
I mean, there's other Force users out there. It's just, and some not necessarily affiliated with either Sith or Jedi. So, I mean, even Ahsoka herself is kind of this rogue warrior. There could be a similar situation that uses the dark side as well. I don't know. I hope it would be interesting if he at least made a cameo. And I only say that because even if it's not in this series, if there's going to be a spinoff with Thrawn, I mean, he has such a huge part in events of this time period. So I just cannot see them not interacting in some way with Han, Luke, and Leia, with Thrawn at some point. So that's the only reason why I think in any sort of capacity, whether it's like if they want to focus on that or just keep to the outer reaches of these huge events. But if it's going to be Thrawn and there's going to be Ahsoka in there, I just don't know how they can avoid it. I don't know. I just like, where are they going to be? What are they going to do to keep them out of the situation?
Well, we will see. I have a feeling everything that I speculate, it either gets absolutely destroyed and I'm sorely disappointed, or they do something completely out of left field that I wasn't expecting. So we will see. But people are saying Mace Windu survived, and it'll be Force Ghost Qui-Gon. I am totally, I don't know about you, I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. I would love a spin-off movie or a spin-off show that Quentin Tarantino directs, and I would be fine with Samuel L. Jackson with robot hands and him and Quentin working in the Star Wars universe together. That would be awesome, and I would be fine with a rated R Star Wars.
Well, I don't know about that part, but I do say that as far as the rated R.
Oh, it's a Quentin. There's going to be the N-word and blood.
I know, but as far, I mean, he just had lost his hand and fell out of a window, and we've seen people come back from worse. So now that we've seen that, we've seen Darth Maul, we've seen Palpatine, and we've seen Fennec Shand. I'm sure there's been others. Now I can't think of it at the top of my head, but you know, if Palpatine survived, especially out of being like thrown down a shaft and blown into a billion pieces, and if he survived, I think Mace Windu definitely should come back because it just doesn't make any more sense. Like how does he not live and these other people survive? It's just they've made it so unrealistic for
you know what happened is he fell, and then there was these Jedi there that were gonna get killed by the clone troopers, and so he gave a kiss of gratitude to the person that saw him there, and then gave them his life force. So there you go.
Or it's like a Fifth Element situation. He just fell in a passing speeder.
There you go. That would be funny. That would be a nice little curveball.
I mean, that situation actually makes the most sense for someone to survive. I just could not believe. Well, first I couldn't believe that Darth Maul survived after being cut in half and fallen down a shaft for like an incredibly long shaft. What's with everyone falling to their death too?
It's traumatic. That's why.
Exactly, script. Yeah.
Yeah, no way Mace is letting himself get killed by being thrown out a window. He'll be back.
Is he doing a Nick Fury show also? Is that confirmed?
I don't know.
I don't know, because if he's doing both, I don't know if that's a thing. If he's doing one, I don't know if he could do another.
Let me see the next one. Crazy Cat Guy, thank you for the super chat. My geek friends and I have been discussing who will be the Jedi responding to Baby Yoda's beacon. Several have proposed it will be Quillen Voss.
It will be who? Oh, what?
Quillen Voss. I'm going to pull up a picture for everyone. I think I'm still sharing my screen.
No, it's going to be Yaddle.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, you know what? Don't even try to tell me that. I have his action figure. I could go dig it out. But so I remember seeing this where people are thinking that, this whole thing that he's there, he's still alive. But is this about? Who is that? That's not Sebastian Stan. Now we're going down the rabbit hole. So is this dude, but it's like, okay, Baby Yoda was at the Jedi Temple where just a male and a female, one of the rarest species in Star Wars, just happened to be. Give me a break. I know where that baby came from. I'm not buying this stuff.
It does make the most sense that was their offspring, but I don't know, because it's odd too that, because even George Lucas himself seemed to render her out of the canon because he wanted there to be more mystery again. So he kind of phased her out in a kind of subtle way.
Attack of the Clones, right?
No, she wasn't there anymore. She was let's see. She was actually phased out of the Phantom Menace. She was there, and I didn't even know this until just recently. She sat on the council, but that has, in another edition, she was replaced. But she did, in fact, sit on the council in the Phantom Menace at one point, but then was replaced again in another edition. So that's so odd. And I guess to add more mystery, again, George Lucas was very set on not revealing anything about the species, not even the name. So we literally have nothing to go on as far as the development and where this child came from. It could I don't know. If he did phase out Yaddle, then I'm not completely sure if it was their child.
Well,
that conceived it.
I have the action figure. I got my VHS that proved she was in that damn movie.
She was there at one point.
Yep,
I
there's
didn't know
a
she was
male,
taken out.
male and female at the same time. The Baby Yoda is supposed to be around the same age as Anakin, if not older. In The Phantom Menace, Anakin is 9 years old, which means Baby Yoda is 9 or 10 years old. So Baby
Yeah.
Yoda was there the whole time. And Yaddle was there. So even if they killed her after that, I'm just saying.
It's like they're pretending she didn't exist because they even phased her out of the council in the other edition. And Ahsoka kind of said that there was only one of the species that she knew, so that kind of reiterated that. But we still have seen her in other things that I'm not sure is still canon. Technically, I have to look into that. But she wasn't in very much.
Well, she was there. It was in a movie. I saw it. It's
I
canon.
know.
I have the action figure to prove
That
it.
image is burned into my brain. That was a very scary looking puppet.
Even Yoda is kind of scary looking, and it's like, what on earth?
And it was the first original puppet, yeah. And Yaddle was supposed to be that was another version of the puppet. It was supposed to be a young Yoda, but they repurposed it.
It looks so derpy. I remember, like, what drug
it's
is
derpy.
this alien on?
Yeah, I have no idea. I hope that we'll actually get to know more about his backstory over these 50 years. That would be nice to know. Hopefully we'll get to know more of it in these next 2 episodes. I'm very curious, and hopefully it's not stupid.
I sincerely hope it's not stupid. Let's see the next one. Tamirius East, thank you for the super chat. Boba's workout routine, 500 diddly squats per day. Yeah, I feel bad. It is what it is. Ted Borgen, thank you for the super chat. Oh, actually, wrong one. Memory Troll, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Anna and Elaine, y'all are awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks, Memory Troll. He has an awesome channel too. Yeah, a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff.
Ooh, there you go. Is it all like the new Lord of the Rings stuff or OG Lord of the Rings?
No, it's more like lore. And he does like dramatic readings. He's involved with like Men of the West and these other Lord of the Rings channels, and they do dramatic readings, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's fun.
Let's check it
out. Drunk 3PO, thank you for the super chat, Drunk. I'm just now getting to it. I hope you are still here so you don't come back to complain. Anna, there is a yellow dot on your hat. Haha, awesome panel. More of this. You know exactly what this damn yellow dot on my head is, Drunk. It's you. No wonder you like it. Oh, always his MO. Adam Wolford, thank you for the super chat. The original Dune book, The Machine Crusade, was caused by humans or enslaved by men with machines, not AIs, that caused a lot of the confusion.
Yeah, I have to read that. So it was what?
Okay, let's read it again.
Machines. Yeah, they banned machines. Oh, he was saying artificial as opposed to artificial.
Yeah, they're saying artificial. This was actually a big argument that they brought in. I feel like Star Trek Picard, and I was like, oh my god, it's completely different. It works in Dune, it doesn't work in Star Trek. But I think that's might be where the super chat is coming from. In the original Dune book, the Machine Crusade was caused by humans were enslaved by men with machines, not AIs, that caused a lot of confusion.
Oh, okay, yeah, men that had machines,
yes,
and they used those to enslave them. Okay, as opposed to just okay. I'm sorry.
As compared to what they did in Star Trek Picard, it's worded a little bit weird, but I think that was to fit in the parameters of how much you can type for a super chat. Yeah. They tried to use that whole thing. We're like, oh, they did it in Dune. And it's like, again, that's not what happened in Dune, because the people working on Star Trek have never seen Star Trek, and I guarantee you have never read Dune. So they went on like Spark Notes or Wikipedia, and
they're missing out, man. And that's what makes his universe so unique. Is because it's set in this time, like so far removed from those events that they banned machines, and then 10,000 years later, this is where the events of Dune take place, where all that technology is banned and humans have had to advance in other ways. So it's very unique, and people keep trying to rip that off. in other ways. I don't know, but I appreciate their inspiration. I mean, yeah, this is an excellent novel for sure, but it's definitely unique in its own way, and it did it first.
Yes, it did. Ted Morgan, thank you for 2 super chats in a row. And here's a few dollars for tolerating me being a total ass on many Jack shows. I'm pretty dumb if that's compromise. Happy holidays, kid. Oh, well, thank you. I don't remember what happened or what you did that was mean, but thank you. I appreciate it. You are
Aw.
forgiven. Unless I go back and find out you were a total dick, then thank you anyways for apologizing. And then your next super chat is Sebastian Stan should be Luke. Nerd cookies.
Yeah, I agree too, because he's a great actor. He looks so much like him, and the age is right.
Yep.
And I just don't want that digital CG technology. I don't want it's not gonna look good, and I don't want that. It hasn't turned out well in the past. Rogue One, young Leia, it's still very uncanny, and it doesn't. I wish they would have just shown her backside and just left it at that.
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't
Even
look
had her
natural.
in like the and then it kind of blurred, but you can see that she's there. Like
Yeah,
they're
we know
handing
who
it
it
off.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
They said like A New Hope like how many times in that movie? We
What if they did the World Between Worlds and they got Mark Hamill, and so they rescue Mark Hamill, right? Like, before he dies and whatnot. And so he can come back and be, in this time period and prevent everything from happening. But he's an old man.
Yeah.
And so he can't run into his young self, but he has to stop everything else from happening.
Yeah, or if Ezra can communicate with Luke and warn him that that Palpatine is returning and he can prevent it, then there you go. He tells him about his plans. There you go. I don't know. None of those events happened.
Just undo it all. Undo it.
Yeah.
DK Samaritan, thank you, Super Chat. LOL, Twitter needs to be nuked from orbit. It does, but then that's how I communicate with everyone. It is.
Yeah, I know. It serves a purpose. I know. It's just like driving a car. It can be used for good and for bad.
And a lot of people like to drive their cars off of roads or into houses, but sometimes people drive their cars to go hang out with their friends. So yeah. Yes, it's a necessary evil as of now. The Juggernaut, thank you for the super chat. Much love, Anna and Elaine. Nerd Cookies is the encyclopedia of knowledge. I'm glad you brought her on.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
And thank you for the super chat. Yes, it's been a pleasure having her on. I don't know if you know this, but I am a very antisocial person. And so I just don't talk to people. And I learned, I've been told, and it's been like whacked into my head, that if I like someone and their content, that I should probably attempt to talk to them. And which it's a little bit weird online as compared to in person, because you can just go up and talk to someone, which again, even in person, I'm a little very socially awkward. So I was like, all right, I got to get out of my comfort zone and start talking to, other content creators. And I've learned that it's actually worked out pretty well, and that's how you make friends. And I'm an adult learning this and having to break out of my shell. So I asked Drunk before, I was like, is Nerd Cookies nice? Do you think Nerd Cookies will come on my channel if I ask her? And he's like, Anna, just go ask her. And I was like, okay, I will.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's been a pleasure having you on. So thank you for coming on and being on my cookie channel.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. You're so easy to talk to. That's hilarious. And I'm very nervous too. I was very nervous when you asked me. I don't think I'm that great live. I think my strengths lie elsewhere. But it's been really fun talking with you, and the chat has just been amazing and blowing up. So I'm so happy to honored to be here, and you're great and really fun to talk to.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it took me a long time to get in the right, or to figure out how to do like a live stream and how to talk and not sound like this babbling buffoon. And if you go back and watch my first couple of live streams, it's so cringy and painful. And so it's one of those things that once you keep doing it, you kind of get the hang of it and the rhythm. And it's always kind of, off the first time you stream with a new person if you don't know them, and, like trying not to talk over one another. And as you do it more, then it's like, okay, like when me and Drunk do it, I know when he's going to talk and he knows when I'm going to talk, and I kind of can feel when he's done and when to, speak. And so it's not everyone talking over each other the whole time. And so it definitely takes time and like learning. But I mean, I didn't know that you weren't used to doing live streams. You seem like a natural at it.
Oh, well, it's definitely taken some time, and yeah, I don't know. It's just nerve-wracking. And I especially think too when you're hosting is a different animal. But I've been doing that more lately. I've been having the Mandalorian breakdown every Sunday, and I think that's kind of getting me more used to it.
What time is that on your channel?
It's 5 p.m. Central. Yeah, Sundays.
Every Sunday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until the episode's over. I might do more. I'm going to do more live streams down the future, and those times might change. But as far as the official episode breakdown, it's usually Sunday after the episode has premiered, 5 Central. Yeah, if you want to come check it out. It's been good. I actually it has been easier. And less nerve-wracking each time. So yeah. But being a guest is just a blast. I've been honored to be on several channels. And I don't get it why people ask me on. But yeah, I'm just so honored and thankful. And everyone in the chat has been so sweet. And I see y'all commenting, and thank you so much for your kind words. And I'm just so happy that y'all appreciate the content, and I'm glad to be here talking Star Wars. It's been so much fun.
I know. Originally, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll bring her on and we'll talk Dune. And then it's devolved into like Star Wars, Mando, some Dune, and a tiny tidbit of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's nerdy stuff. That's normal for me.
They're saying to go on Mahler's stream next. Do you got 10 hours to spare?
No, I don't know.
If you guys want her on Mahler's on EFAP, you just got to ask Mahler. Just let him know that is somebody that you'd be interested in having him on EFAP. That's actually how I've met a lot of people that do YouTube. Is that because I mean I'm always either working or making videos or sleeping, and so like I found the Fandom Menace because somebody left a comment on one of my videos saying, hey, I think you would really like Geeks and Gamers and you should go talk to this guy named Jeremy. And I was like, I've never heard of this channel. Let me go look it up. Okay, cool. They seem cool. I'll reach out. And then, they're like, you should talk to Jessie from Mindless Entertainment. I was like, okay, I'll look her up and do that. So if you guys, leave comments or, comment during chats and just let, content creators know that you want them to collab with other content creators, we all see that, and we can make that happen. Oh yeah, they're all saying that you should go on EFAP. Do you watch EFAP?
EFAP. What is that again?
That's Mahler's show. It's called Every Cause.
Yeah, I think I've checked it out. Yeah, I know. It's
okay. It's like
I'm so disjointed. I'm trying to get in all these different things too. I'm a fan of a lot of different channels and and Red Letter Media and all those things. Yeah, I will check that out for sure. EFAP for sure.
EFAP is a show. It usually happens on Saturday, and so they kind of watch. They watch other people's videos and then they provide commentary about it, and it's usually not the best videos or like argumentative type of videos, and so they give their 2 cents on it. But yes, EFAP is a huge investment of time, but once you get into it, it is great. Yeah.
So someone says like sketch therapy. It's like Red Letter Media, but 5 hours long. Well, I love RLM, so yeah, I'm sure I have. I don't know if I've devoted that much time to it.
It's one of those things that you could pop in for like 20 minutes of their live stream, come back in an hour, and they'll still be talking about the same thing, but it's glorious. And there's all this lore. They have animated stuff. It's great.
It's only about 12 hours long.
Okay, yeah, it does get hostile on the debate episodes, but that's about it. I have been on it, I think, 3 times, and I'm known as like one of the quiet guests because I don't talk very much on it. But that's just because I really admire Mahler and Rags and their takes on things. So I'm more interested in what they have to say on things. And then there's also times when I'm like, it's not my cup of tea, the topic that I'm there for, but I was asked to be on, so I am there. I am present. But it's very interesting some of the time. Or I should say majority of the time. There are other streams that I'm like, oh my God, it's the most painful thing to get through. Like if you ever watch the time they have Major Leon to talk about The Last Jedi and why he loves it, it's going to be like the most painful 6 hours of your life.
I will definitely check that out then. Yay.
Let me get into the next super chat. Script Doctor, thank you for the super chat. What's up, dude? You two talking about Padme giving birth in a lady tent totally earned the super chat. That was hysterical. Well, thank you.
It was weird. I don't know.
It didn't make sense. I'm just like, was there no that was one time that I'm like, you know what? Was there not a woman on set to explain that her legs need to be much wider? Her belly needs to be twice the size that it is for one baby, not just, two
twins. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Just it's like, and also I'm like, but she dies after having her babies, but I'm like, there's something else that comes out after you have the babies that's like painful too. And I'm like, but at this point, George hadn't had a biological child. He'd only had all of his children up to that point were adopted. So I'm like, I don't think he knew or he had ever been there. But I'm like, did nobody know that, and nobody want to say anything? No, nobody had kids. Nobody knew. Nobody saw. I don't know.
Well, I mean, in the original novelization, it just really didn't mesh well with what was said in the original trilogy either. Like Leia had memories of her, but the novelization, I think, had her. They had the babies, and she took Leia with her, and she was at least 4 years old when she died. I don't know. That was a little different, but
Oh my God. Totally off topic. My boyfriend just sent me a picture. So he looks just like Keanu Reeves in John Wick, except younger. And so he sent me this picture of this new shirt that he got, even though he's sitting in the next room. It's a picture of him wearing a Keanu Reeves as Jesus holding Baby Yoda with Jack Daniels.
oh my God.
You're such a dork, Peaches. Oh my God. That's Peaches.
That's awesome. So many things going on.
Let's see. Wolfsbane, thank you for the super chat. Can we bring Drudge back? Perfect villain, in my opinion. So that is, for those that you don't know, that is it's like a bounty hunter character that was in the animated show.
Yeah, wasn't he? Let's see. He was an alien, right?
He's like a robot.
Oh, he's a robot. Oh, I'm thinking of another one then. What am I thinking of?
I think you're thinking of Bane, of Cad Bane.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was. There's so many.
I know. It's like bounty hunters. Like, which one? Take your pick. They're all there. I'm gonna let you. I'm sorry about this, but they don't know who that is.
Who?
Unfortunately, the people that are making Star Wars, you're gonna make Star Wars characters. They don't know who they are.
Who? The other one or Cad? Well, Cad Bane was in Clone Wars at least. Wait, were they both were in Clone Wars?
The 2D, not 3D.
Oh,
Cad Bane was 3D.
Oh, I love the micro series myself. I was very disappointed I didn't get used to that CG animation for a long time. And then I don't know. That took me a while to get into. It got better, but I'm a fan of hand-drawn animation. I'm like a huge fan. And I love the Studio Ghibli movies too. And it's a dying art.
It really is, and it's so sad, but they're gonna go for what they think is cheaper and what they think is better as compared to doing these, like, you know, actual works of art as compared to just plugging something into a computer. But personally, I hated the animation style for the 2D one, so it just makes me so uncomfortable. I can't look at it. So I've listened to a few episodes. I haven't watched it because I can't look at that damn thing.
The micro series, right?
Yeah. I loved Padme. Looked great. All the other characters, like, what the hell is wrong with them? But it's very stylized. There's some styles that I personally can't get behind.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. I think Gendy Tartakovsky was behind that, and I loved all his work, Samurai Jack especially too. And that was just its own distinct style. See, with animation like that, it can be distinct, but with the CG, it all kind of looks the same to me. I don't know. I think
that's the difference between, like, actual art styles and then just a different, model on a computer. But I mean, see, I wasn't bothered by Samurai Jack. I really like Samurai Jack. I remember when the first episode airing and watching Samurai Jack when it premiered on TV. And oh my God, I feel so old now. But yeah, but just with the Star Wars, like, at that point, I was so used to it being, movies. And so when they came out with that, I'm like, I hate this art style. And knowing, what Samurai Jack looked like, and then the making Anakin look the way he did, and even, Mace Windu, I was like, what the hell is wrong with them? But that's just me. I just can't get past it. The 3D, I didn't watch until it had already, gone through a majority of the show and the run, but I did like the action figures. And I think one of the reasons why they did it the way that they did it was because they could just send the 3D models off to the toy companies and then they just turn those into toys. So the action figures for the Clone Wars 3D TV show are so spot on accurate, and they're very good quality.
Yeah, I think so too. It was easier for them to develop each episode because they already had those models made. So I think that was another factor in just, continuing to create the episodes at a reasonable pace and to get them out, and I'm fine with that. It definitely has improved over time. At the time, it was just kind of jarring for me, and I was always a fan of just that hand-drawn animation to begin with, and I was getting into drawing myself at that time too, so that's probably why. Because I was drawing a lot of those myself, a lot of those designs.
Did you draw your avatar?
Actually, no. I went to Fiverr for that. I've commissioned a few things from there, and yeah, they did a really good job. I sent them a picture of myself, and that's what and I told them the style and what kind of stuff that I wanted, and I don't have time anymore. I wish I did have more time to draw and be creative like that. I don't really have time. I wish I did. I really did enjoy that as when I was younger, drawing, and occasionally I will. I don't have that much time anymore. Unfortunately.
Hopefully in the future you will, hopefully. If it's something that you enjoy and love. I always hope that for people. I'm at the point where I'm like, I need a break from freaking drawing because I do it all day.
You're so talented, though. I love seeing your work, especially Drunk 3PO's book. That's been really fun to see developing, or to see you developing that. So that's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, me and him need to do another drawing stream. I think we have like 8 more pictures to do. So he wants that book done. Drunk, are you listening? Wednesday. Sound good? Okay.
Are you still in here? I saw you before. I know you were lingering.
You might be lurking. He's lurking. DK Samaritan, thank you for the super chat. Anna, if you ever have the chance to play Shadows of the Empire video game, it's awesome. It was the first Star Wars game when I was 7. I think you mean you played when you were 7. Got it. Yeah, I have a long list of Star Wars games. So I am playing through KOTOR 2 as a Sith right now, which I finally got Mira on my team, which means I have to be good for a little while until I turn her and Bo into my companion or into my Jedi apprentices. Then I'm going full dark side. We're killing everyone. And then I think I have to play Jedi Academy 1 and 2.
That's awesome. I have never gone that route, so I will be staying tuned to your to your Sith journey.
My Sith journey. It's been a journey, let me tell you. I have to like, you do one thing wrong in KOTOR and you have to go back to your last save and redo everything. And it's like, oh my God, it's so complicated, but it's so worth it in the end.
Yeah, I always was so that just really resonated with me as well. Those games that where your choices matter. Yeah, so that was really cool that they developed that.
Like this. Oh my God, I can feel Drugs' presence here. I can almost smell the hair product. If he's even wearing any recently, his hair's been all crazy on streams.
I don't know if he does. He's cut his hair though recently, so he doesn't have to, right?
He cut it for Gina. We're not going to pay any more attention to Drunk's hair because then he's just going to get a big head about it, or he's going to get self-conscious about it, and then his next video, he's not going to be able to get a sentence out because he's just touching it. That's what he said. Well, I am all caught up on Super Chats, and we're going on almost 3 hours, so I think maybe this is a good time to end it. Is there anything you would like to plug or anything you would like to say before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. This has been so much fun and such a chill, relaxing environment, especially with the chat. You guys are awesome. I was so happy to be invited, and it's been a really fun experience. But yeah, come check out my channel if you're not subscribed, Nerd Cookies, and you can also find me on Twitter and Parlor at Nerd Cookies. And yeah, I cover sci-fi and fantasy content, cover Dune and Lord of the Rings and whatever other sci-fi fantasy properties. And I have my Mandalorian live stream that I do Sundays at 5 Central to talk about the previous episode and break that down. So yeah, if you want to come by and check that out, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and I was able to catch some of your last Mando review, and it was very entertaining. So everyone, make sure that you go check that out. The links for her channel and her Twitter are in the description of the video. For whatever reason, the Parlor one didn't save. I think that might be YouTube working just the way it unsubscribed me from her channel while I was speaking to her. Live on the damn air, but that's YouTube for you. It actually, I had my link to my Parlor and it removed it, so I had to like just type in manually like this is what it is when you go on to Parlor, so I can't have the link in the videos anymore, which is very goodness. It's very strange, but it is what it is. But so go check out her channel, check out her content, follow her on Twitter, and sub to her channel. It is absolutely free to click the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications, and make sure that it is set to all. That way you actually get notifications when she puts out videos and when she does live streams. Because some people, like my dear friend Sav, who don't get notifications and show up late to the party. What's up, Sav? What's up, Sav? But let's see who is live right now. Oh, Raging Golden Eagle is live. So everyone go over and raid Raging Golden Eagle's chat. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your night, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And Nerd Cookies, thank you so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the channel, and I would love to have you back again.
Oh, thank you.
And may the force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone.
I'll tell you where I thought I came in.
If my clip will play.
I'll tell you where I thought I came in. In the forest, when the lightsaber goes like this and flies off. I said, oh, what a great entrance. Ah! Ray caught it? She hasn't even been to Dagobah for training.